Boss Castle in virtual game. Could it really be that an ordinary person brought everything to this outcome? One has to admit that he is extraordinarily talented. These words were spoken by the 7th rank Demon Lord, Demon Farza, the Demon Lord of Urzuburg. He said this to the player standing in front of him, the Steel Voter. Han Jae-woo, the chooser of steel, merely chuckled in response and advised the demon to shut his mouth. His life was coming to an end. He used the 12th form of the empirical sword and rushed to attack. Jae-woo swung his sword furiously and shouted, "Take my blow!" But then a message appeared in front of him saying that he was disconnected from the server. The Demon Lord stated that he was full of flaws. Jae-woo couldn't move and shouted at his opponent to stop, but it was too late. A message appeared that the mission had failed. Voices were heard from the apartment. It seemed that Jae-woo was still playing this game. How could I wake him up now? One of the people in the apartment advised his partner to carefully shake the capsule to enter the game. He tried to do this, but accidentally pulled out the network cable. Jae-woo, who had emerged from the capsule, grabbed him by the collar and asked if he was the one who had pulled out the internet cable. Jae-woo shouted in rage that he had almost completed the task and rushed at the people who had invaded his apartment. He said his name was Han Jae-woo, and he may look like an avid gamer. But before, he was known as Hanum's problem solver. Hanum's brain, the money goblin. He had a wonderful life. But one day, he realized how insignificant everything he was passionate about was. Super AI masterpiece Aquila, the high-quality virtual game savior of humanity. This virtual world has changed it. A single-player RPG with a gigantic open world. For him, a man who had never even read a picture book, this world was the embodiment of magic. Plus, there were wonderful characters of different races whose stories captivated him. They changed someone who was only fixated on money, so he borrowed some money to buy a game camera for 1 billion won. Jae-woo asked. Apparently, they think he's crazy. One of the people asked how he could treat him like that, since he had invested money in him so that he could play. Jae-woo chuckled and reminded him that he had covered for him more than a couple of times. Golf behind the wife's back, 2 jobs behind the company's back, simping to Viber users for 10 years. Another of the intruders was indignant. He thought that he was allowed to say anything when he borrowed 1 billion won for some game. How does he plan to pay it all back by only writing walkthrough guides for others? Jae-woo remembered the quests he had completed, and how much more does he have to go to complete the dungeon completion quest? He also remembered that he had almost no money left in his account. He was offered to start working with them again because he was solving Kanam's problems. But Han Jae-woo answered briefly, no. He stated that he had not yet seen the ending of this game, the real ending, which no one has ever reached. Her achievement is the least he can do to repay this world that has taught him so much. Jae-woo declared that the workday was over and they should go home. They started to say something about paying interest, but he had already pushed them out the door. Having gotten rid of the unforgiven guests, Jae-woo approached the game capsule. He lay down in it and launched the game's savior of humanity, Location Temple of Bayern. Upon entering the game, Jae-woo received a message that the Steel Voter had received the ultimate punishment. He was suspended from action for 24 hours. He exclaimed irritably, how can he make money now? Suddenly, someone's voice said that he seemed to have problems with something. A beautiful girl suddenly appeared in front of him, who said that she is the creator of the game Savior of Humanity. Her name is Aquila. Jae-woo could hardly contain his laughter. She was still a child, but the girl said that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Jae-woo said that she really thought he would believe her if she just appeared out of nowhere and called herself Aquila. The girl snapped her fingers and suddenly everyone around froze. Jae-woo thought that this time-stopping spell was at least in its S-class skill. But the girl said that it was not a skill. She just put the server down for a while. Now he believes her. She added that, in any case, she came with a new event in honor of the game's 7th anniversary. Maybe he wants to hear about it. The girl announced that a new world had opened at 12,000 and invited him to be the first to complete the new game with a new character. Jae-woo chuckled and said that he hadn't even completed this game yet. Aquila said he would receive a $25 billion reward. Jae-woo's eyes lit up. Besides, doesn't he want to see the true ending of this game? Perhaps it exists, the key to the true ending. Jae-woo was stunned, his hand automatically reaching for the key. But Aquila stopped him and said that if he tried right now, she would give him a gift. Jae-woo said it was unbelievable after receiving the message that Aquila had deposited 30 million won into his account. Aquila showed the player rankings, in which Jae-woo was ranked first, and declared that he was her VIP. Jae-woo thought happily that even if he couldn't beat the game, he will be able to pay the interest for this month. So he said that only an idiot would refuse such an event and agreed to the offer. Aquila said she knew he would agree. That was to be expected from the best player, and said she would send him right away. She started installing and downloading the new game. Gradually, the characters around began to blur. And in the end, Aquila and Jae-woo found themselves in a deserted place in front of a closed door. Aquila said that this door would take him to a new world. Jae-woo clarified, meaning the game would start as soon as he entered that door. Before entering the door, he reminded Aquila not to forget about the monetary reward, and he moved through the door to the true ending. Before he disappeared, Aquila said she seemed to have forgotten to mention one thing. If his character dies in this event, he will die in the real world. Jae-woo was taken aback and wanted to ask again, but the event had already started. He was transported to a new world, and from a great height, he fell to the ground. Jae-woo wondered why he felt such intense pain when he was in a game. Was that damn girl really serious? He gritted his teeth in rage and indignation, but hissed that he would do it anyway. Jae-woo was desperately thirsty. He once again cursed Aquila and declared that he would never forgive her for this. This devil gave him such a trash character. His maximum health was only 20, and his mana was 3 points. He had only been walking for half a day and was already dehydrated. How could he get to the good ending with such a hero? Suddenly, the sound of splashing water was heard nearby. Jae-woo rushed forward happily. A fast river with crystal water appeared before him. Jae-woo stated that fortunately he read the book Grilled Survival at Any Cost. He is very glad that this game is realistic. He drank heartily, and his health began to recover. Suddenly, he saw a girl bathing in the river. She was naked, and only a long shock of hair covered her. Due to excitement, Jae-woo lost 1 HP point. A message appeared offering to pay for DLC, additional content. Jae-woo was indignant. He, the VIP, should also pay for DLC. Wasn't this game a complete addition? Suddenly, someone's hands fell on his shoulders, and a voice said that he had to pay for what would happen next. Jae-woo was tied up and thrown roughly onto the floor, where a man lay with his hands tied behind his back. He looked around and saw 5 strangely dressed women standing over him, one of whom called him a worthless pervert. The woman added that if he kept quiet, she would consider leaving his pants on. Jae-woo asked if they should at least tell him the price, but they had already turned around and left. The stranger with his hands tied asked him what he was talking about and said that his name was Rudd. He was a monster hunter. Jae-woo introduced himself as Valorstead Valor and asked how he ended up here. Rudd replied that luck had turned against him, and while hunting for prey, he had accidentally run near the witch's forest. He asked how Jae-woo ended up there, and he replied that it was about the same as him. Rudd said he didn't know what he had been through, but he sympathized with him. He looked quite young. Jae-woo replied that everything was fine. Situations like this were his specialty. He said he knew how to get out of here. After all, it was she who wrote the guide on defeating these witches. Moreover, it took him 3 days then. The 5 witches of Havel received this title because they appeared in the forest of Havel. Their names are Gunda, Kaldura, Adelaide, Fugul, and Sisi Alno Kornbidfre, Amen Tain Sals. Likrati ar dirofik sibra, turdo kachuraf as, Kur Chipria Kubdash. Although they are only the initial bosses of this game that players must go through, thousands of them died in battle, which is what made the witches famous. Despite this, if you look closely, you can see that witches are quite disorganized. Jae-woo asked Lady Fugul if she was still alive. She looked at him in surprise, and a message appeared that he was provoking Lady Fugul. He added that he remembered Lady Hejuju declaring that she would finish her off. Lady Hezuzu said that she ordered him to sit quietly. Lady Fugul indignantly asked who would finish off whom, and a message appeared that the provocation against Fugul had worked. Jae-woo said he remembered her saying she would kill her and take her property. Lady Fugu screamed furiously, "Oh, gusesan of Sherfankon Shrevi Mizazagas, a Darsorbertu Churiwi, Dasat Bain Palestine." Hezuju calmly asked if she really believed him. Besides, she won't spend all the money anyway, so why not give her a little extra? Jae-woo received a message that the provocation on Heju had worked and thought that everything was going well so far. Lady Adelaide suddenly said that this was why Juju was preparing the acid bomb. Lady Gunda said she didn't care when dinner began. Caldura asked if they were going to fight, and she wouldn't mind either. Jia-woo watched the unfolding squabble among the witches and soon saw a message that he had successfully provoked 5 of Havel's witches. One might think that witches work as a team based on their title, but the Angbekenasain Serdidisets, Amasikisan, the for relay Garimbedathruan. Et is so mocked 5 that chains, simming the ten almedice, core for sale codes. Which gold Ruzoatsersh Kajarsh, Conantiquity Dange Redo. We call key tickle by time. Of course, team befene team spirits, the sexum. Usually people fight against them without even knowing it, which is why they have managed to kill thousands. But it's so easy to make them fight against each other. Jae-woo told Rudu that they needed to quickly take advantage of this chance and escape. However, before running away, he struck at the fighting witches. Then he showed Rude where the exit was. As he ran away, he thought that although witches were stupid, they nevertheless brought a lot of experience. But he didn't manage to run far. Something grabbed his leg, and a message appeared that the snake Fugul had grabbed him. Lady Fogul ominously said that she would not die alone. Jae-woo dodged the snake's attacks and tried to drive it away. He said irritably that he had forgotten how weak his current character was. Rud drew his sword and shouted, "Let me help!" With a blow of his sword, he cut the snake and freed Jae-woo from its grasp. He asked Jae-woo if he was okay. He thanked him and asked if he could use his bow. Rud asked if he was a good shot and handed him the gun. His bow had an attack value of 15 and a range of 30. Jae-woo replied that he knew how to shoot a little and pulled back his bow. He shot at a glass jug sitting on the shelf above the witches. The jug broke with a crash. Hejuju said that this was not good. This is an acid bomb. The witches looked up in horror. They all disappeared in a powerful explosion. One of the fragments hit Jae-woo in the shoulder and he lost another HP point. Rud asked in surprise, did they really deal with them? Jae-woo earned the achievement, "These witches are nothing," along with 323,760 experience points and 5,000 achievement points. He thought he was damn lucky to get it at a low level. Rude said he thought he was finished, but he saved him. He handed him the bag and asked if he would accept it as a token of gratitude. These were red dragon fruits, and after taking them, Jae-woo said that this was unexpected and had not happened in the previous playthrough. Rude explained that because they looked valuable, he stole them from the witch's nest. Jae-woo unceremoniously threw the fruit into his mouth. A message appeared that he is now a dragon bone, possessing great power. He watched with satisfaction as his stats increased, something an ordinary player could never even dream of achieving. He was extremely lucky. Rude asked him if he was interested in hunting monsters. Woo Jae. Woo received a message that the path to a relationship with a monster hunter was open. In the game, the Guardian class confronts the Legion of Darkness, which supports the Demon Lords. If the Guardians disappear, the Legion will enter the world. Jae-woo thought about Rud's proposal. He still decided to refuse and said that he had things to do. However, then the thought occurred to him that this was a great opportunity. He doesn't have a class, so all the vast experience he's gained simply has nowhere to apply, and if he leaves, it will all disappear in a month. Rud said goodbye and wanted to leave, but Jae-woo stopped him and said 3 months. He asked if 3 months would be enough. Rud replied that it would be more like 3 years. They came to a dense thicket. Rud said that first he should go into the forest and hide in any place he wanted. He will come for for him in 30 minutes. Zhou thought it was the monster tracking skill from the hunting skill tree, and he thought he would make rapid progress, but Rudd noticed him too easily. Jae-woo remembered that he had explored this forest countless times. He remembers everything down to the smallest twig. This dense forest will throw off his sense of direction. Poisonous spores from scattered poisonous mushrooms and wild animals that are even more dangerous than witches. Most of this was already imprinted in his memory, and with the red dragon fruit, his physical abilities had reached their maximum. Jae-woo said smugly that he wouldn't find it that easily, but to his surprise, Rudd found him pretty quickly. He stated that he was giving him 50 points, but due to his enthusiasm and efforts, he would give him an additional 10 bonus points. Jae-woo asked in surprise how he did it, Hus. Rude said that his expression said that he was dying of curiosity. It had been a long time since he had such a funny student. He suggested that we try our best this time. Jae-woo received a message that he had completed the Hunter's Mockery quest and received a new quest, Hunter's Trial. Soon, he received the Monster Hunter class and also discovered the skills Herbalism, Average Swordsmanship, Survival, and Shooting. He finally got a new skill, Monster Tracking, Mastery Level 1. 3 months later, Rudd asked him in surprise if he had really mastered all of this already. Jae-woo stated that he didn't seem to believe him and suggested that they hide somewhere in the forest. Rudd said he had always admired his spirit and agreed with his proposal. But if he doesn't find it within an hour, then he'll have to cook dinner for tonight. Rudd, climbing the rock, was glad that he had met such an excellent student in his later years. He decided that there was no point in making things too difficult for him. If he just hides on the rock, he won't find him even in an hour. But then he felt someone grab his leg. It was Jae-woo who cried out loudly. He found it. They ran a few more tests, and every time Jae-woo found it with ease. Rudd thought that in just 3 months, he had mastered the skills that had taken him 5 years to learn. This time, Rudd hid in a deep cave. He thought that he couldn't come straight here. Definitely not. After all, this is Cerberus Nest. Jae-woo said, advice number 1 from the Guardian of Humanity. He placed his hand on Ruda's shoulder and continued. Even an earthquake won't wake Cerberus. Jae-woo asked Rudd, well, did he pass? He replied that yes. Rudd said it was amazing that he had mastered all these skills in just 3 months, and it must have been due to his talent. Jae-woo replied that without such a teacher, he would not have succeeded. He added that he leveled up everything by spending a huge amount of experience points from witch hunting. Rude said that it was incredible. He even remembered all his advice on the monster ecosystem. He has never met anyone like him before. He is definitely destined for success. Rudd asked what he would do now, the task he had mentioned. Jae-woo said that first he would earn some money. Everything starts with gold. Rudd said that he just has a close friend who works as a mercenary, and he wants to try mercenary work. Jae-woo thought it was an interesting proposition. Mercenary work was a proven source of early income. What is important is that this method does not require investment and is very flexible. Moreover, if he is lucky, he might even meet the guardians of this game. Jae-woo said that he agreed. He would become a mercenary. Rudd handed him his old mercenary badge and said that with it, his friend would recognize him immediately. As he left, he said that he wished Valorstead Valor good luck. Jae-woo decided that everything was going perfectly so far. He defeated the witches and even earned a class. At this rate, perhaps even a happy ending is just around the corner. He remembered Aquila asking if he wanted to see the true ending of this game. Perhaps it exists, the key to the true ending. Jae-woo thought that you never know when you will die. That is the thrill of the death game. He cried out for Aquila to wait for him. He swears that he will reach the true ending. Aquila, meanwhile, watched his adventures with laughter. It was funny. That's how he escaped the witches. It's priceless. Aquila said it was a good thing she decided to keep an eye on him. Footsteps were heard behind her. Someone's voice asked. It was he, definitely not an ordinary person. Aquila asked if she had fallen in love with him. She addressed the tall, beautiful girl, calling her Valfurga. But Valfurg replied that she was a goddess. Why should she have such feelings for a man whom she was supposed to protect? Aquila said, why not? He's quite cute. Valfurga blushed in embarrassment. Aquila said that she was so serious, she used to be much more cheerful. Valfurga asked if it was true that she had paid off his debt. Aquila replied that it had been a long time ago. It turns out that this poor man doesn't even know about the debt that has been paid and continues to work for it. This is cruel. Aquila said, why not? It's much more interesting that way. He is so full of lust for life. Valfurga declared that she was terrible. She asked if he was part of her plan too, or she's just playing with him. Aquila laughed in response. She stated that she thought he was a promising talent. For now, she'll just continue to watch him. Jae-woo said his legs hurt, and an official message came in saying he was exhausted. He wondered why this forest was so grueling. With this body, he was able to climb in just half a day, but there was no need to move on. Finally, he reached the city where the mercenary detachment he needed was located. At the tavern, visitors were greeted by lovely waitresses. Welcome to Frankos, the best tavern in Frankfurt. Jae-woo stated that he was looking for someone and was led to an empty seat. As he expected, the tavern was a classic place to gather information. If he was going to find out about the mercenaries, it would be here. People always loosen their tongues when they are in a good mood. And most importantly, the waitresses here are lovely. Jae-woo asked if they happened to know a man named Rebes Chaltz. Suddenly, everyone in the tavern froze and deathly silence reigned. The waitress said in a frightened voice that it was forbidden to pronounce that name here. Jae-woo asked why, and she replied that he was very dangerous. One day, her boyfriend contacted him, and after that, he returned home as a mummy. Some visitors also suffered at his hands. The waitress told him that he needed to run quickly because he was coming soon, and tried to push him out of the tavern. Suddenly, a large man blocked his path and asked him who he was. He stated that his name was Rebes Chaltz. His gaze fell on the mercenary badge hanging on Jae-woo's side. He asked if this wasn't Rude's mercenary badge, then he must be that guy. The Rebbe said that this was ideal. He was just looking for a slave, that is, a companion. Jae-woo asked him again what he had said and thought to himself that Rud was a real bastard and that he would be finished the next time they met. Rebes Chaltz smiled and replied that he was just joking. Jae-woo clarified that he was a companion drawn into the war between the Electoral Prince and the forces of Pezimut. He felt like he was being drafted into the army, but even with all the discomfort, it was actually a great opportunity. The Elector Prince is the guardian of this game, one of the voters of the finger. Through it, he will be able to obtain information about other guards. Suddenly, there was a loud roar of a trumpet. Rebes Chaltz said that just mention the devil, and he is here. He reported that this was the motorcade of the Prince Elector, and he added that he would fit in well among them. Jae-woo thought that this electoral prince looked quite like a villain. Suddenly, he saw a familiar figure in the motorcade. Is she really here? Dame Walpurgis. Meanwhile, the prince asked Dame Walpurgis if something was wrong. She seemed somehow abstract. She replied that everything was fine. Jae-woo watched the motorcade pass with a thoughtful look. Dame Walpurgis was his companion in previous playthroughs, but he couldn't save her in any of them. Everything always ended the same way. Rebes noticed his reaction and asked what happened, but Jae-woo replied that everything was fine. Oh decided that this time, even if he had to risk his life, he would reach the ending where she would live. There were many people fighting around. Jae-woo thought that the tension was still hanging in the air. They entered the training grounds of Rebes Chaltz. Rebes said that now is the perfect time. They are choosing the leaders of the group through sparring, and there is also a lot of money at stake. Jae-woo thought that everything was as usual. Pride and gold. He needs to somehow establish contact with the Prince Elector, so for now, it's best to sit quietly. But then Rebes announced that he would also participate in the selection. Of course he's a participant too. Rudd certainly wouldn't send someone clueless to him. Rebes loudly asked if anyone wanted to engage in combat with the newcomer. The mercenaries perked up. Oh, fresh meat has arrived. Jae-woo thought sadly that he wasn't even allowed to refuse. It was a familiar feeling. Well, first we'll have to seize control. The mercenary in front of him said that his name was Max, and he was glad to meet him. Jae-woo introduced himself as Valorstead Valor. The Rebbe asked if they were ready and gave the command to begin. Max rushed into the attack furiously. His sword flashed through the air. The mercenaries watched what was happening in amazement. Valorstead Valor defeated the mercenary Max and received 15 glory points. Screams were heard. What happened? Did Max really fall in one blow? Jiwoo thought that this was expected. After absorbing the red dragon fruits, his strength became comparable to that of an ogre. Cries arose from the crowd of mercenaries that they too should understand what had happened and proposals to fight. Jiwoo chuckled. Please, but one at a time. He defeated the next mercenary using the medium swordsmanship skill. On another one, he used the monster binding technique skill. He then used monster headbutt. A huge fighter appeared and shouted that this was ridiculous. They were all embarrassing themselves in front of a newbie. It was the mercenary Charlotte who declared that he would now become his opponent. Looking at him, Jiwoo thought that he was too huge. He was actually a human. He decided that he had to exit the game, but it was impossible. He couldn't even log out. Jiwoo stated that he needed to rest and asked for 1 minute. But Charlotte roared, "No way," and rushed to attack. Jiwoo decided that since things had come to this, he needed to settle the problem with dignity. He made the capture, and he threw the enemy to the ground using the monster slam skill. Jiwoo defeated the mercenary Charlotte and received 30 glory points. Reeves' assistant asked him where he found such a guy. Even Charlotte lost to him. The mercenary said that he was a real monster. He was able to defeat even Charlotte, a skinny body but incredible strength. They continued to demand that he fight them too. But Reeves Chaltz dispersed everyone, ordering them to retreat back. Jiwoo was touched. He probably shows concern because he is his friend's student. But Reeves said that he chooses him. Now the new leader of the group for this fight is Valorstead Valor. Jiwoo completed the hidden quest, joined the mercenary guild, and received a new quest, Reclaim Harfheim Hill. Guardian of Humanity Trivia, Charlotte's younger sister, manager of the Francois Tavern. The opposing troops lined up opposite each other. Reeves Chaltz commanded, "Forward." Hearing his command, the army rushed at the enemy. They were confronted by an army of orcs. Jiwoo fought in the ranks of the Electoral Prince's army. Before the battle, Reeves Chaltz explained that they were in direct confrontation with the orc army of the Demon King Petsumut. Their task is simple: to take the military flag of the enemy army commander. The plan is this: once they break through the enemy's dense formation, they will crawl through the gap and completely collapse their lines. It's worth remembering that they are proud orcs, and their army is not only strong, but also the most coordinated on the continent. Reeves told Jiwoo that his job as the group's leader was to stop them. Jiwoo fought with huge orcs. He remembered Reeves' words and thought what nonsense it was. He simply planned to snatch some military merit and immediately run away. Meanwhile, the orc officer reported to the commander that bad news was coming in. The spearmen's formation was falling apart. He replied that it was impossible. Their elite spearmen had never been defeated before. The commander personally studied the battlefield. He saw a group of furious fighters who were advancing with a cry, "Tear them all to pieces." The commander ordered the muskets to be lined up and opened fire. Jiwoo and his squad protected themselves from the bullets with shields, but compared to the strength of the shields, the bullets did little damage. Jiwoo chuckled. Since muskets don't fire rapidly, it wouldn't work without constantly changing the ranks of shooters. The commander ordered the second row of riflemen to open fire. Having successfully repelled the hail of bullets, Jiwoo led the fighters into the attack. The orc was surprised. This couldn't be. The skinny boy would scatter them to the sides. They are not people. He will never let them take the flag. This flag is a symbol of their tribe's pride. However, he failed to stop the human attack. There were shouts of joy. The leader of Valor captured the enemy flag. Jiwoo received 30 leadership points and 20 achievement points for stealing the flag. He just needs to hold on a little longer and the credit will be entirely his. But then an alarming trumpet roar was heard. The mercenary reported to Jiwoo that they had bad news. Their allies are retreating, and the orc reinforcements that have arrived are already ready to fight. Jiwoo was indignant. Victory was already close. Why the hell were they running away now? The mercenaries asked him what they should do. Maybe they should drop the flag and also run away. But Jiwoo asked what kind of nonsense they were talking about. But they are already surrounded. The hidden boss, Great Orc General Kallian, declared it all over. He suggested that the human warriors surrender and retreat. Behind them stand proud elite soldiers. If they now leave the flag and go away, then he will respect their courage and spare their lives. Jae-woo brazenly replied that if they took even one step, their precious flag would immediately end up in Charlotte's underwear drawer. Kalyan was outraged. How dare he threaten to place their sacred war flag in such a filthy place? Jae-woo replied that there were no rules in war, and if it meant victory, he would turn their precious flag into a rag and wipe it across everything he could reach. The orcs roared indignantly upon hearing such impudent words. However, Kalyan, ignoring them, ordered them to prepare to fire. He gave the command to open fire. People again found themselves under a hail of bullets. Jae-woo received an internal message that his intimidation attempt had failed. He thought with regret that in the previous playthrough, they would not have given up their beloved flag so easily. They actually brought the great general. It's not fair. There is no way he can defeat this monster with his current fame and level. So what should he do? He suddenly remembered Aquila's words about what if he died in the game. It will die in real life too. The mercenaries shouted that he, as the leader, had to give orders, otherwise they would all be destroyed. Jae-woo just burst out laughing in response, and everyone around him decided that he had truly gone crazy. He demanded that Charlotte give him the pipe. He said that no one would come to their aid, but Jae-woo told him to shut up. He blew the trumpet loudly. Reminded that his allies were on the opposite side, Jae-woo told them to remain silent and just block the bullets. He thought that now they were even with Aquila. If she really had any sense, she wouldn't leave him. After all, he is her VIP. Kalyan ordered the spearmen to move forward. The huge spearman raised his weapon over Jae-woo and, shouting that he was the worst enemy of his people, struck. The tip of the spear was already a few centimeters from his head. Suddenly, the spearman was struck down by a powerful blow. A formidable horseman appeared in the sky above the fighting troops. It was a lady dressed in armor with golden hair. She landed among the surrounded fighters and screamed at them not to surrender. She commanded, "Raise your swords, soldiers." The orc commander shouted for no one to interfere. This battle was only between him and Countess Nider Bayern. The countess said that he was full of honor, and she rushed to attack the orc. He parried her blow. Watching the duel, Jae-woo thought that they were fighting on equal terms. Even though Valpurgis was still at an early stage of history, she was already so strong. Their fight dragged on. No one could gain a clear advantage. The orc stated that she was incredible, as expected. Moreover, she is excellent, not only in fencing, but also in hand-to-hand combat. The orc asked if she was Valfurg's sister. If this was a warlike order, then everything fell into place. The countess replied that she had dedicated her pious heart to serving God. Then she said it was time to finish, and she dealt a powerful blow with her sword. The orc was defeated. He said it was a good fight, and he fell face down on the ground. With their commander fallen, the orcs began to retreat. Jae-woo was shocked. Even such a powerful commander was defeated with one blow. However, he did not expect anything else from Dame Walpurgis. The orc army fled from the battlefield. The lady approached Jae-woo and asked if he was the leader of these mercenaries. She said she could sense his courage even from afar, then extended her hand to him and said her name was Walpurgis. Jae-woo responded by saying he was pleased to meet him and introduced himself as Valorstead Valor. He added that if she had not come, they would all have faced death. He thought that now he was not a steel voter, so he should be more careful. Walpurgis asked why he bowed his head and waved her hand to the mercenaries. The soldiers turned to Jae-woo as their leader and presented him with the banner they had captured from the orcs. He received a message that his authority among the mercenary squad had been increased. Jae-woo remembered how they fought shoulder to shoulder. He said he understood and declared that the flag was now his. The mercenaries were celebrating their victory in the tavern when a short figure appeared in the doorway and shouted, "Charlotte." It was a young girl with eyes of different colors. Charlotte mumbled something inaudible in response. The girl ran up to him and asked, "He's leaving for another war. Won't he hurt you?" Jae-woo asked if this was his daughter, but they told him that Charlotte was only 15 years old. And this is his younger sister, Baptiste. Baptiste pounced on Jae-woo, screaming that it was because of him that Charlotte was in this condition, so he should pay for his treatment. Charlotte said that they only returned alive thanks to their leader, Valor. The other mercenaries confirmed that this was true. If it weren't for their leader, they would have become food for the orcs. He saved them all, and they shouted, "Valor! Forever." Jaewoo was a little embarrassed and told them to just eat their food. Suddenly, someone's voice said loudly, "Valor stead valor." Jaewoo was surprised. Countess Walpurgis. They arrived at Harfheim's forward base with Walpurgi. The Countess explained that the Elector had personally called him, and it seemed he intended to reward him with military honors. Isn't he thrilled? This is the highest reward a mercenary can receive. Jaewoo said that she looked even happier than him, and she suggested that he call her by her first name. Walpurgis pointed to the soldiers and said that they continued to live thanks to his efforts. Without his courage, they would have gone to the next world. They are inhabitants of the Empire and are alive thanks to him. What other reason does he need for happiness? Jaewoo remembered what Walpurgis was like in his previous playthroughs. He thought that she hadn't changed at all. Only their relationship has changed, because now he is an ordinary mercenary. They stopped in front of a large tent. Walpurgis reported to his lordship that she had brought Valorstead Valor. The prince asked what it meant that his name was Valor. He introduced himself as the Steel Voter and said he was glad to meet him. His name is Thilop. Jaewoo said that he had to meet his lordship and thought that this is what it would be like to meet a real guardian. His pressure is indescribable. The prince asked, so it was he who was nicknamed the Field Reaper. His courage was truly impressive. He was as bold as a lion. Philip declared that the man of honor deserved recognition. He would reward his comrades with 100 florins and himself with 300. Jaewoo promised to repay the prince for his generosity. When he asked if he needed anything else, he said he had one request. He would like to regroup with his comrades and rest in Weitenbeer. The prince said that although Weitenbeer was far from the front, he would fulfill his request. He could take the wagons from the supplies and use them. Jaewoo thanked him, but did not leave, so the prince asked if there was anything else. He thought that in another situation, he would have backed down at this point. Jaewoo asked if he could ask his lordship a question. What does he think about this war? The prince and his courtiers suddenly fell silent. Jaewoo thought that he hadn't expected anything else. Everyone was speechless, but nothing could be done. After all, he was just a mercenary now. Finally, the prince broke the silence and asked what he thought about it. Jaewoo replied that from his limited perspective, he couldn't see the full picture, but something was bothering him. The courtier asked what absurdity had alarmed him. He thought he could give advice to the elector only because he had received military merit. Another courtier stated that he must have picked up some piece of information somewhere. Here, Walpurgis intervened and said that even before crossing the stone bridge, it wouldn't hurt to knock on it. Why not listen to it? The prince's advisor was indignant. How dare the base countess interfere when the elector himself was standing before her? But he was reminded that she was the niece of the elector of Bayern, and therefore he should show respect. Jaewoo thought that this was to be expected from Walpurgis. Even the steel selector couldn't ignore her. The prince agreed with Walpurgis and said that he could speak. Let him tell us how he sees this war. Jaewoo declared that an ambush was coming. The prince asked if he had any grounds for making such an assumption. Jaewoo replied that the Demon King Pisamit's chief strategists always resorted to ambushes and betrayals. After analyzing their war with the Toe Kingdom 10 years ago, and the battle against the Margrave of Anhalt 6 years ago, it can be concluded that in both battles, their ambush tactics played a decisive role. Jaewoo added that one cannot overlook their other strategy either: betrayal. The prince asked if this meant that he was claiming that there was a traitor in their midst right now. Jaewoo replied that he was just guessing. It never hurt to be careful. The prince declared that he was very brave. He added that his head didn't roll off his shoulders just because he decided so he should know his place. Walpurgis tried to intervene. But Jaewoo got ahead of her and humbly asked for forgiveness and said that he had crossed the line. He said he was taking his leave and left the tent. He thought that in his previous attempts, the Steel Elector had been more reasonable, but this time he seemed overly arrogant. It looks like something has really changed in the game. First up were the red dragon fruits, which were supposed to appear much later. Then Walpurgis, who shouldn't be in the center of events yet. All of this is different from his countless past playthroughs. news. Jae-woo thought it was possible, but his thoughts were interrupted by his name being called. It was Walpurgis. She looked out of breath and said she had finally caught up with him. Jae-woo asked if she really ran here because she was worried about him. It was so touching. Walpurgis said she would like to apologize for the words spoken by Elector Philip, and if he still wants something, she will try to make it happen. Let him just say the word. She will do whatever he wants. Jae-woo asked if she was sure of it. What if his request seemed outrageous to her? Walpurgis told him not to underestimate her. She was born into one of the richest and noblest families in the empire. Jae-woo asked that then she must have a lot of outfits. He said he would like to ask her for a goose feather and a pistol. She asked in shock. And that's all, because he was given a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Jae-woo said that everything was fine. He dreamed of becoming a cavalryman and planned to use this opportunity to learn horseback riding. Walpurgis said she had never met such a selfless person. She said this was not the place for such conversations. Then she grabbed his hand and told him to follow her. Jae-woo obeyed. After some time, troops gathered for a battle to retake the hill of Harvheim between the Elector of Steel Philip and the Demon King Pizamut. Philip shouted to Pizamut that today was the day when he would finally kill him. Pizamut asked if someone could shut him up. He could smell his breath from here. The assistant reported to him that preparations for war were complete. He also asked if he really intended to use that Hexus woman. The assistant said that if they captured the Elector, he would be a valuable prisoner, but if they handed him over to that twisted madwoman, King Pizamut said that he knew about it and would deal with her himself. He was interrupted by a female voice that said she had arrived and ready to attack. Pizamut said that she should be on guard and added that she should not go too far this time. The girl who arrived asked if she had ever gone too far. The king became indignant and shouted that she always crossed the line. The girl said placatingly, "Oh, okay. She never overdoes it or goes too far." The game's ending conditions have not been officially revealed, but players believe the Guardians have clues to the true ending. Jae-woo rode on a horse named Philly. He thought it was amazing. The speed was incredible. To think that this is just a reserve riding horse, it is certainly befitting of the Lady of the Bayern family. Dame Walpurgis gave him the perfect healing potion that would completely heal any wound. It cost 1,000 florins per bottle. A powerful explosion was heard near him. He thought that it seemed to have already begun. He needed to hurry. Even a man like the Steel Voter would not be able to cope with this war. He will probably just stupidly and stubbornly rush into battle and will be completely unvigilant. There is a high probability that he will be betrayed. Prince Philip asked his uncle why he had committed such treason. How dare he call himself a knight of the empire? He replied that he still could not understand what was happening. He told him to listen carefully. Everything was like this. He had conspired to rebel against the emperor, and as soon as he realized this, he teamed up with Pizamut to arrest him for treason. Uncle asked if this was a good version. Now it dawned on him. The prince said what nonsense this was. Who would believe such a ridiculous lie? Pizamut said, stepping on his head, he is a child or whatever. It is time for him to accept reality. The king added that he was a madman, lost in fantasies, and he gave orders to his subordinates to tie him up. They moved to carry out the order, and the prince shouted at them not to come near him. He is a noble elector. King Pizamut said that he was making too much noise and ordered him to be shut up. But then Walpurgis appeared and delivered a powerful kick to his face. Pizamut swayed. Walpurgis shouted to the soldiers to take advantage of the opportunity and take his lordship away from here. The prince's uncle screamed hysterically that Philip was running away. Pizamut told Hexus that he went there and was outraged to see that she was not ready yet. Hexus sat on his tied-up assistant and said she had gotten a little carried away. The king told her to pull herself together and start working. Hexus readily agreed and said that it was time for her boys to eat. She asked the huge dogs that appeared. They must be very hungry, and she ordered her dogs to catch up and swallow them. Jae-woo tried to escape from the dogs chasing him. So far, he managed to quickly shoot back. He thought she was using zombie dogs. First, she wears out the enemy with them, and then orders the dogs to slowly and painfully devour him. What a dirty strategy. Jae-woo shot another dog and said that he recognized the Hexus style. It doesn't look like she sent the whole pack after him, so the rest probably went after Philip. Jae-woo thought that he didn't really care about the prince. The main thing was to save Walpurgis. He finally fought off the dogs and decided he needed to hurry. A pack of zombie dogs caught up with Prince Philip and his accompanying Walpurgis and other warriors. The prince suddenly felt that he had lost control of his mana. He thought it was Pizamut using his dirty tricks. Philip heard a cry warning of danger and saw a dog's bared mouth above him. Dame Walpurgis rushed to his aid. With a blow of her sword, she cut the dog in half. Walpurgis asked him if he was okay. She said that this is unexplored territory, so people rarely go there, and they need to be extremely careful. Suddenly, the prince heard a voice begging for help. This was the cry of a warrior who was being bitten by dogs. Walpurgis shouted at him to hold on a little longer, but then the prince turned to her and said that it was better to leave him. He stated that he was special and that our lives and theirs were of completely different importance. Walpurgis was indignant. Isn't this the duty of a nobleman, the one who rules? She thought bitterly that if only he had listened to Valor's words then, this situation could have been prevented. It's all their fault for neglecting Sir Valor. Suddenly, someone's voice said that people are so funny, and a whip lashed out at Walpurgis's neck. She was suddenly attacked by Hexus. Walpurgis turned to the prince for help, but he just looked at her and galloped away, leaving her alone. Walpurgis fell from her horse. As she stood up, she said that they were finished with such a person in the rank of elector. Someone next to her said, "No." It was Hexus who stated that to be a voter, one must have power. Walpurgis shouted at her to take back her words immediately. The title of elector is a key position that gives the right to choose the emperor of the empire. It is not something to be treated lightly. Hexus ordered her assistants to continue pursuing Philip. Then she asked Walpurgis that she was also from the electoral family. She froze for a moment and immediately received a blow from the whip. Walpurgis screamed that she was a small brat and rushed at her, but Hexus deftly dodged the punch. And again Walpurgis lashed out with the whip. Hexus screamed in admiration. What a beautiful squeal. Excellent. It just spurs him on to torment her some more. And she brought down a hail of blows from the whip on Walpurgis. With her last strength, she whispered, "Sir Valor." She thought that if it were him, she was sure he would find a way to survive. But for her, it was over. But Hexus screamed madly that it was not all over yet. She continued to beat Walpurgis furiously with the whip. But suddenly, a shot rang out nearby and she stopped. One of her dogs was killed by this shot. She was staring at the dog's corpse and didn't notice how Jae-woo sneaked up behind her. He dealt her a terrible blow with his fist to the face. The blow sent Hexus flying far to the side. Walpurgis looked in amazement at Sir Valor, who had appeared out of nowhere. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Walpurgis said that he really was a hero, and, losing consciousness, she fell prostrate on the ground. Jae-woo rushed towards her and picked up her unconscious body in his arms. Hexus looked at Jae-woo darkly. He killed the zombie dog, and then snuck up behind her so quietly that she didn't feel a thing. It seems he is not an ordinary guy. Jae-woo addressed her by name and said that she was still the same bitch. Hexus grinned. It turns out her brother knows her. Jae-woo told her not to call him brother. It looked disgusting with her ugly face and pointed a gun at her. Hexus said, "It means a pistol. It has a longer range than hers. So he better aim carefully because her whip hits much faster than he can reload." Jae-woo fired, but Hexus dodged the bullet and rushed at him, swinging her whip. She hit him with a whip. She managed to wrap it around her neck. With a jerk of the whip, she managed to pull him towards her. Then she headbutted him in the face. Hexus declared that it was not over yet and swung her whip again. Jae-woo dodged the whip and tried to get closer to her, as she laughed. He wants to close the distance. Hexus's expression turned worried, and she said that this couldn't be true. Even among the entire squad, her whip skills were unrivaled, but he still dodged all the blows and closed the gap. Jae-woo approached her, holding his gun at the ready. Hexus laughed and rushed towards him, rather than think she would let him shoot. But Jae-woo suddenly pulled out a dagger. He told a stunned Hexus that it was a surprise. Jae-woo stabbed her and asked her how she liked the taste of the dagger. It was very invigorating. He added that he was an ult user by nature. She thought with dismay that she had been so focused on the shootout that she had lost an eye. She needs time to recover. Hexus spread her bat wings. She said that she had to go, that she was a busy person, and tried to fly away. Jae-woo mockingly asked if she was scared. But she replied that she couldn't be won over by provocation. She didn't fight at close range. Jae-woo said that today he was playing a long-range damage dealer and raised his gun. Hexus said that these bullets were no problem for her. But suddenly, she felt that something was wrong. Something happened to her spatial orientation. She stood helplessly in the air, and the bullet struck her. Jae-woo stated that, as he thought, there was nothing more enjoyable than shooting bats with a cannon. As she fell to the ground, he said that this pervert had really caused trouble. He walked closer to her and said, raising his dagger, that it would be interesting to see what kind of loot she would drop. Hexus asked plaintively if her brother was really going to kill her. But Jae-woo said that it was enough to talk nonsense. It was time for her to die. He received a service message that he had defeated Hexus, the Whip of Destruction, and the Demon Lord faction officer. Jae-woo picked up Hexus's cloak, Hexus's whip, binding rope, body enhancement elixir, Ferguma's dragon venom, poison antidote, and 2,000 florins. He then pulled out a bottle of the perfect healing potion and was glad he hadn't sold it earlier. Jae-woo approached Walpurgis, who was still lying unconscious. He looked at her and said that he would definitely save her. The warning for the perfect restoration potion stated that it should be applied directly to the injured area. This means that it needs to be applied under the armor, directly onto the skin. Jae-woo thought that he needed to be calmer. It was just a medical procedure. He wasn't thinking about anything indecent. Absolutely nothing obscene. His real name is Han Jae-woo. His father died of illness when he was a child, and his mother collapsed from exhaustion. At the age of 18, he was left completely alone. The man reproached them for always starting a fight if someone doesn't pay, and now he treats them like this. Hanam-dong performer Han Jae-woo responded by asking what was wrong with him. Even he takes orders for money. The customer handed Han Jae-woo an envelope and said that he asked him to accept it as a token of his gratitude. He counted the money. Everything was in order. He reminded the customer that this was only a temporary solution. If he had money, he should first repay his debts. He said that he had a quest this week, so everything was fine. Han Jae-woo looked at him with disdain. The customer told him not to look at him like that. This quest would bring him 10 million won. Han Jae-woo was surprised. 10 million for one game? What kind of game is this? The customer asked if he hadn't heard anything about the savior of humanity. It is a huge open world with complete freedom of action. There are such gorgeous female characters there that the whole world admires them. With over 1 billion users, the game is a global single-player RPG that has been played over 1 billion times. Top players easily earn tens of millions in it, Han Jae-woo asked. So he really makes that kind of money in the game? He answered in the affirmative and suggested that he try it himself. Han Jae-woo replied that he was busy today, but then he received a message on his phone that today's order was canceled. He thought that it turned out that he was free today and decided to give it a try. He came in just for fun, but was amazed. Technology has gone crazy these days. The sky looks just like the real thing. Both the streets and the people on them seem alive. Jae-woo saw a fruit vendor's stall. He came closer. It looked like a hollow dive. The merchant said that if you don't have money, go away. He only serves those who pay. Jae-woo looked at the balance. Relenterns for Itinakian. I waisit palitorspo am Jurassic Gueniers Nars Chastelvinias. Next to him, a boy was looking at the fruit and saying that it looked delicious. The boy's mother approached him and tried to pull him away from the counter. Jae-woo asked how much one apple cost. He bought an apple and handed it to the boy. The woman thanked him warmly for spending his money on her son. He thought that 1 florin and already a whole meal for the whole day sounded good. The boy and his mother thanked him again and said a warm goodbye to him. Jae-woo thought it brought back memories. When he lived with his mother, he was also capricious, constantly begging for fried chicken. He found the game quite charming and has been visiting Savior of Humanity from time to time ever since. When reality became too much to bear, the game helped me relax. Then he began to visit her more and more often to relieve stress, and return to life again, living, getting tired, returning to the game. Almost 5 years passed like this. Someone's voice asked, "It must be Han Jae-woo." It was a beautiful girl in Lalas. She introduced herself as Walpurgis and said that they said he was no slouch. She asked how about hunting the rampaging boars in the Havel forest, or if he was scared. He replied that he was just about to roast wild boar for dinner that day, so it would be just right. Valpurgis said it was incredible that he took out such a giant with one blow. Jaewoo noticed that she didn't even lift a finger. Walpurgis replied that he was so strong that she did not even find a chance to intervene. Then she invited him to join a party. Jaewoo clarified that this wouldn't be another contract where he did all the work and clicked agree. Walpurgis asked if he didn't trust people. She said it would be something like this and added that she liked him. She then promised to recommend him as a knight of the empire. Han, Jaewoo, and Walpurgis stood on the palace balcony and the crowd below shouted his name. Walpurgis said that who would have thought that he would go so far and asked how the voter felt. Jaewoo replied that it wasn't just his merit. If she hadn't spoken to him then, he would never have achieved this. Walpurgis asked what he was talking about, the people he saved and the peace he restored. These are his loyal citizens. Walpurgis said that he, Valor, was truly special. She may not have lived long, but she had never met anyone with such dedication as he did. She asked if she could find out why he was doing all this. Jaewoo replied that it was probably because he truly loved this world. He realized for the first time how beautiful the sky could be here, and he also added that, apart from the pain in his face, everything was just wonderful. Walpurgis pointed out that he shouldn't have removed her armor, but Jaewoo stated that it was necessary. Walpurgis reported that, in any case, they would soon reach Walpurgis's monastery. She added that when she returns, she will definitely repay him for everything. She is in debt to him that cannot be expressed in words. Jaewoo said he was looking forward to it. I wonder what he could ask her for. But even if we don't take her into account, the monastery will still generously reward him. They arrived at the Valpurga monastery. Walpurgis indignantly told a nun named Angela that she was carrying on. Sir Valor was an honored guest of their monastery. The nun replied that there was nothing to be done. The monastery was in a state of emergency lockdown. Therefore, Valorst Valor could not enter. An inn near Rheinfelden. In one of the rooms, Jaewoo was lying on a bed thinking about what had gone wrong. He was going to demand the angel heart from the monastery. The angel's heart is an artifact that has been passed down for hundreds of years in the Walpurga monastery. This is an S-class sacred relic filled with the blessing of the goddess, capable of reviving the owner's soul. Jaewoo thought that, to put it simply, it was like an extra life. There was no way without it, especially for that very moment. Walpurgis entered the room after knocking. She apologized for him having to stay in such a squalid place, despite his status. Seeing him lying on the bed in a strange position, she asked him what he was doing, and Jaewoo replied that he was thinking about it. Walpurgis said that she wanted to tell him something important and completely confidential, and he promised to keep everything secret. She said she knew she could trust him. After an awkward pause, she reported that the abbess had succumbed to the darkness, and Jaewoo said that they had just seen Abbess Angela. Walpurgis explained that Angela was the deputy and the acting abbess was Lady Margaret. She added that this meant there was a traitor in the monastery and that it was all the work of that scoundrel Petsamut. Jaewoo was surprised that Margaret was still alive. He thought she had died several years ago and therefore did not keep an eye on her. Margareta was an unprecedented fighter in the history of the empire. She could subdue even the lesser demon lords, a true symbol of strength. It was she who turned the Walpurga monastery into a fighting force. Jaewoo suddenly jumped up and declared that they simply had to save her. Walpurgis asked why he got so worked up. Jaewoo said that he knew more about the darkness than anyone else and that they needed to go urgently. They came to the monastery of Walpurgis. Mother Superior Angela asked again. He really does understand the darkness. Walpurgis confirmed this and added that Valor is a person who can be trusted. Let her try to trust him at least once. Mother Superior Angela frowned. She said with displeasure that it seemed like she had told him a lot. The tension in the room grew. The abbess angrily said, turning to Walpurgis, that she knew that everything had started with a traitor, and now she suggests trusting a stranger. He doesn't even deserve to be heard. She should take her out immediately. Walpurgis tried to object, but Jaewoo stopped her and asked Angela what he had heard, that the abbess was dying. Angela replied that it was none of his business for strangers like him. Jaewoo asked her to at least listen to him him and added that he had read the Gospel of the Seven Demons. Angela was surprised. How did he know about this? Because this is a book written by Saint Antonio himself. Jae-woo said that she seemed to know this book well, since it is a work that describes everything related to the darkness. It details the 7 demon lords who were sealed and erased from this world. Angela said she couldn't believe it. She slammed her fist on the table and asked how he knew about this book, even saying its name could bring a curse. Jae-woo replied that he asked to believe him. He really knows how to resist the darkness. Angela thought for a moment and said that was fine, but in exchange, he had to take this secret with him to the grave. If he tells anyone, she will bury him at the bottom of the river. They walked with Walpurgis in a crowd of nuns. Jae-woo wondered what kind of crazy monastery this was. The abbess crushed the table with her bare hands, and there was also the stench of sweat. He's never seen Margaretha in person, but he knows for a fact that she bench presses 2 tons in the Big 3. He asked Walpurgis if she was also striving for such a body type. She replied that she would like to, but her uncle was against it, so she was keeping herself under control for now. Jae-woo sighed with relief. They stopped in front of a closed door from which streams of darkness were seeping. Angela stated that the dark energy was simply off the charts, so they needed to try not to lose their minds. She ordered the nuns to stay here. Angela told everyone to get ready, and she opened the door. Jae-woo thought that this was truly an incredible dark energy. A message appeared that the darkness was damaging his mind. He asked Walpurgis if she was okay. She replied that she was protected by the goddess's blessing and asked how he was doing. Jae-woo received a message that the player's mind was protected from the darkness, so he replied that he was also fine. Angela led them to the bed and said, "This is the abbess." Jae-woo thought that this woman was the possessor of the most destructive power in history, abbess of the Walpurgi Monastery. There was a young girl lying in bed. Jae-woo asked in surprise. She was kidnapped. How could she really bench press 2 tons in the Big 3? Angela asked him to take what was happening seriously. Otherwise, why would they need the help of a traitor like him? She said they had already tried everything possible, but nothing helped. He is their last hope. Angela shook him by the collar and promised to pay any price. He must save the abbess. Jae-woo received 50 damage. He said that after seeing her up close, he could tell that she was indeed in critical condition. Angela explained that the speed at which the darkness consumes clergy is twice as fast as that of ordinary people. These black veins reaching down to the neck are proof of that. Jae-woo said that it was okay. There was a way to help her. Angela shook him again and stated that he had to immediately say which one. Jae-woo took another 50 damage. Jae-woo said the method is simple. The monastery's sacred relic must be used on the abbess. Angela asked if by sacred relic he meant the angel heart. She understands that the abbess has been cursed by darkness and he is going to transfer it to another person. But divine power and a curse are opposites. During the transfer, the abbess will die, which is why the angel heart is needed. Jae-woo replied that that was exactly it. The curse was fatal to all the female servants, so no one from the monastery would be able to perform the ritual. And he is just a mercenary. In other words, the most suitable candidate to transfer the curse. Angela stated that this method was unacceptable, and a message was conveyed from Abbess Margaret herself. She said that all this darkness is hers. No one should sacrifice themselves to hurt her. If anyone dares, she will turn the entire empire upside down. Angela said that. Besides, it is a curse of darkness. Neither its nature nor its symptoms are known to them. It is inexplicable. Does he really think that he can survive it? She added that this curse would torment him for the rest of his life. Walpurgis supported her and stated that there was no point in sacrificing herself instead of the abbess. Jae-woo reassured her that everything would be fine, adding that he really was the best choice. He has read the Gospel of the 7 Demons and knows the darkness well. He is not a cleric, so he has no vulnerability to it. Besides, he's just a stranger they met today. He also stated that this offer would probably tempt her. Angela gave in and said that when the abbess woke up, she would be in big trouble. She gave Jae-woo the angel heart, which revives the owner's soul once. Jae-woo thought it would be better to save it for later, but this was the perfect chance to make Margaret an ally. Walpurgis screamed. Was he really going to do this? Even now, he could still refuse. Angela stopped her and said that he was a man after all, and suggested that she just look. Jae-woo declared that he was ready and began the ritual. He began to cast spells. The curse began to pass from the abyss onto him. Angela and Walpurgis were horrified. Jae-woo was transported to an unknown space. He thought, this is the world of darkness. All black. Where is forward and where is back? A voice rang out. It was he who lurked in the grave, who dared to call upon him. Jae-woo said that his name was Valorstead Valor and demanded that he lift the curse from Margareta. The voice said that this pathetic mortal was not even able to perceive his appearance. Had he really gone mad? The voice said that he was not interested in him and told him to get out of his sight. An official message was sent that the player's soul was protected. The voice was indignant. Why can't he extract his soul? Jae-woo told him to shut up and demanded that he lift the curse from Margaret and transfer it to him. The voice indignantly said that if he did not immediately tell who he was, he would rip out the souls of everyone who had ever been in any space. Jae-woo thought that he had decided to take hostages, then he would also play dirty. He claimed to have read the Gospel of the Seven Demons. He traded it with the most murderous Moor for his dog. He's probably already selling it for next to nothing to other sages. A little more, and even the color of his underwear will become common knowledge. The voice said that it would fulfill his request, but with one condition. Jae-woo now has a new task, to destroy all the demon lords supported by the murderous blight. Jae-woo said that it would be too hard for a weakling like him. The voice called him a pathetic worm and said that if he could overcome it, then he would take away the power of darkness. Jae-woo, who was hit by a monstrous force, screamed. He wanted to kill him. This was not part of the deal. But the voice said that in this world nothing comes for free. For great power, there is a great price. Service messages appeared. The title Cold-Blooded was received. All stats were increased. The Summon Unclean skill was received. He died. Monastery of Walpurgi. Jae-woo finally woke up. He thought with surprise that he was still alive. Jae-woo happily felt the new strength within him. He became the king of necromancy. Now he can command legions of liches, undead, and even death dragons. He has the title of Cold-Blooded, and among the billion players of Savior of Humanity, he is now number 1. The world has finally recognized him. Walpurgis suddenly burst into the room, and she asked worriedly, had he really hit his head? She explained that after the ritual, he lost consciousness, and so she carried him to her place. Walpurgis sternly told him never to do anything so reckless again. He can only imagine how worried she was. Jae-woo said he wouldn't do anything like that again. Walpurgis stated that he had made a promise and should remember it. Suddenly, strange loud sounds came from the window. They ran out into the yard and asked what had happened. Maybe a war had started. Angela looked at him and said that he seemed to have woken up. Jae-woo asked if it was Pessimit who passed by and knocked down a couple of trees. Someone from the top of the tree asked him. He woke up. She lay there for so long that she wanted to stretch a little. Nice to meet you, my savior. The person at the top of the tree introduced herself as the abbess of the Walpurga Monastery. It was Margareta. She smiled at Jae-woo and stated that he could call her Mari. Abbess Margaret led them down into the monastery's dungeon. Jae-woo thought that Philip had probably already gotten out of the forest, and he had finally obtained the highest rank of cold-blooded necromancer. With this power, he was going to finish off Philip, but since he was a guardian, without the angel heart, he had almost no chance, so it was too early to relax. Mother Superior Margaret joyfully shouted that adventures awaited, to which Angela asked to show at least a little decency. Margaretha declared that propriety was the chief enemy of aristocratic society, and she had grown old, so she grumbled. Jae-woo asked Walpurgis if she always went overboard like this, or if it was just her temperament, and she replied that the abbess had always been like this. This girl is actually the youngest and strongest in the monastery's military force. Margareta suddenly stared at them and asked what was going on here. They were alone here. It was so nice. Finally, Margareta stopped in front of a huge door and said that here it was, Walpurga's dungeon. She told Valor that this place was full of incredible artifacts. It was perfect for a cursed person like him. Jae-woo thanked her. Margareta said that it was okay, and if she could, she would even go on a date with him. Walpurgis hissed angrily, and the abbess told her not to worry. One person would be very angry, so she would not do anything. Margareta said that it was time to go in. She was already looking forward forward to it, and she opened the door to the dungeon. Jae-woo thought that while everything was going according to plan, he needed to level up here and start hunting for Philip. Jae-woo asked his horse Philly how he liked his new outfit. It looks stylish, doesn't it? He was wearing a new S-rank cursed equipment with the Shadow Flash skill and a Karka monster dagger that enhanced necromancy skills. Someone's voice was heard nearby. "Leave already." Walpurgis said it was offensive when he left silently and asked if he would like to take a walk with her one last time. She stated that although they had only known each other for a short time, it was as if they had known each other their whole lives, perhaps because he had done so much for her. Then, in the battle with the orcs, and in the final battle with Hexus, he was reliable and strong. Jae-woo replied that her help was invaluable. After an awkward pause, Walpurgis said that he hadn't really been interested. Jae-woo asked what exactly. Walpurgis told him not to pretend and explained about her face under that helmet. Jae-woo replied that he thought that since she didn't take off her helmet, there must be some reason for it, so he didn't ask. Walpurgis said that in fact there is a large scar under this helmet. It is a trace of a curse. She herself doesn't know what this curse is. Her uncle tried his best to hide it and said that no one should know. Because of him, people call her the Ugly Knight, a nickname made up by those who know nothing about her. Walpurgis asked if he wanted to look at her face. She's a little scared, but if it's him, she thinks he'll see the real her. She took off her helmet in front of the dumbfounded Jae-woo, and she asked what she looked like. He thinks she is ugly. Jae-woo was momentarily speechless. Walpurgis demanded that he say something. Jae-woo said that she was very beautiful. He thought that it couldn't be that Walpurgis had taken off her helmet. He had met her in all his playthroughs, but he had never seen her like this. Walpurgis stated that there was something she wanted to give him. She explained that it was a treasure of the House of Bayern, passed down to her from her uncle. This is a sign that she will always be by his side. Jae-woo was surprised, a sign that she would always be with him. He stated that he would keep it. Walpurgis said that then let that be his promise. She said that she would probably go then, and Jae-woo wished her luck. He asked her to go first, but she insisted that he go first. A message has arrived about the unlocking of the hidden history of the blood of the prince-electors of Barn and the romantic root Walpurgis. Jae-woo wondered what to do with a man like him. An affair with the tense Walpurgis. If things continue like this, they might even get married. Suddenly, he saw the bodies of the dead soldiers. He stated that judging by the traces of the battle, Philip and Petsamut fought fiercely. He decided that he needed to search the area. Jae-woo saw that his magic dagger had a new skill unlocked. He activated vampire summoning, and he said, let the blood-washed followers become his hands. He gave one of the summoned men the task of searching the entire area and finding Philip. He ordered another woman to collect all the scattered military uniforms nearby. They should come in handy. Prince Philip hid in an abandoned house with the remnants of his guards. He said irritably that he, the voter, had been brought to such a state. It was unforgivable. One of the guards handed him a wallet and said that it was for emergencies. Suddenly, he heard someone shout loudly, "Prince Philip!" It was Jae-woo. He shouted that he had come for him. He was the same mercenary that the prince had met earlier, Valorstead Valor. Philip shouted that of course he remembered him, but the guards stopped him, saying that it was dangerous and that he needed to assess the situation first. But the prince called them useless idiots and told them to shut up. While Valor came to save him, what were they doing? They are all pathetic worms, not even worth stepping on. Philip stated that after all this, they would be demoted to subordinates of that very mercenary. The prince shouted loudly that he was here. Jae-woo said that he missed him so much that he made his way through the dense forest to get to him. Philip thanked him for bringing reliable allies. He is the only one he can rely on and will definitely thank him. But Jae-woo said that this was not necessary. At his command, those he had summoned rushed at the prince because he doesn't need it anymore. The prince called him a pathetic puppy and said that the puppy was not afraid of the tiger. He added that it turns out he had been raising a mongrel all this time. Jae-woo agreed. Yes, he is a damned cur and will now go and bite someone. For example, Philip. The prince drew his sword and used the first form of the moon shadow sword art. With this blow, he threw back the summoned warriors. Jae-woo thought that, as expected, the soldiers alone couldn't handle it. Fighting at this pace is just a waste of mana. He gave the command to the warriors he had summoned to retreat. The prince asked with a grin. It was painful to watch his subordinates die before his eyes. Jae-woo replied that yes, except for one person. He said that his heart was as wide as an endless plain, and he personally entered into a fight with Philip. Jae-woo thought that in front of him was still the Selector of Steel. It was painful to fight against the sword style that he himself created and cherished. Although it looks graceful and beautiful, on the other hand, it hides a deadly counterattack ready to strike. Master of counterattacks, Selector of Steel. Prince Philip said, does he really think he can turn his back on him and then live peacefully in Paltz? Jae-woo stated that he actually gets along well with the nuns. The prince said that he had strong connections, but he was not at all afraid of such militant religious orders. He used the second form of the moon shadow sword art, Falling Strike. Jae-woo parried the sword strike with his dagger. Philip suddenly felt all his internal wounds. Jae-woo told him that this farce was over, and he dealt a powerful blow to the prince's chest. Jae-woo stated that he should be afraid of him, not the nuns. The prince stated that even if he were in better shape, he would not have succeeded. He asked why he wanted to kill him. He valued his talent and generously rewarded him. Shouldn't he be loyal to him? Jae-woo replied, if he really didn't understand what he had done wrong, then he would explain it to him. First, he ignored his warning and was betrayed for it. Secondly, he mercilessly threw out Walpurgis, although she did so much for him. Thirdly, he at least understands how many people died because of him. Jae-woo asked, after via Fersin Satiriwai Kerpastin Tent a name. After all this, he still considers himself a voter, is an anicaps. Philip said that everything he did was for the people, if he died, who would feed the remaining citizens. His death is a golden opportunity for other voters. They will tear Paltz to pieces as soon as he disappears. Jae-woo stated that he was right about that, so he would give him a chance. He said that it was a potion of complete healing. If he accepted his offer, he would give it to him. The prince assured that he would do anything. Just let him say so. Jae-woo said that he should then kneel down and ask Walpurgis for forgiveness, truly beg. Philip said he agreed, and as a sign of goodwill, he would even donate 10,000 florins to the House of Bayern. Jae-woo praised him and handed him a bottle of potion. The prince greedily drank the contents of the bottle. However, he felt that something was wrong, and Jae-woo asked maliciously, well, is it delicious? He explained that it was the poison of the dragon for Guma. Philip hissed that he was a bastard. He was laughing at him. Jae-woo said that it was such a deadly poison that it could even defeat demon lords, and Hexus kept it in her vaults. The prince screamed, die, valor, and rushed at him. However, one of the summoned warriors blocked his path and cut off his hand with a blow of his sword. The prince asked the summoned warrior. He was Piffenheim. He was alive after all. He was torn to pieces by a zombie dog that day. Piffenheim replied that he had left him to die that day and been mauled by zombie dogs, but that Valorstid Valor later gave him a second life. Since then, he serves Valor, not him. Piffenheim told the prince that his arrogance always endangered everyone around him. Now he will pay for it with his life. Jae-woo received messages. Allow Piffenheim to kill the Guardian. Killing the Guardian may disrupt the game progress. Continue killing the Guardian. He thought about disrupting the game's progress. That's why. Jae-woo said that he wouldn't have taken him for free and ordered Piffenheim to finish him off. He killed the prince, after which messages appeared. The Guardian was eliminated. The hidden scenario Kill the Guards was opened. After destroying all the guards, he will receive the Transcendent class, and the difficulty of the game will increase. Jae-woo chuckled, seriously increasing the difficulty. He bets that even she didn't expect such a turn of events. Aquila watched him. She said, it looks like Dear Valor really did remove the seal. Just look at his face. So self-confident. He is completely delighted right now. Let's see what else he's capable of, because this is just the beginning. Jae-woo said that with the level of a voter, the rewards were simply amazing. He received 3 SS rank skills, 1 S and 1 A. In addition to this, he received 2 class-exclusive S-rank skills as a level-up reward. Jae-woo picked up some strange object and asked what else had fallen out. It looks like an ordinary magic lightning. He tried to activate it, but ran into a barrier. He thought he would have to ask Margaret to take it off later. Jae-woo received a message that he had obtained the essence of the Guardian. If he collected 5 more, he could ascend to the Transcendent. However, with each guard killed, the seal that holds back the darkness weakens. Jae-woo thought that, in other words, you have to be damn careful when hunting them. He will become a Transcendent and remain alone. I wonder if he will stay with the rest of the guards or find his own way. Piffenheim ran up to him shouting what he had found. As he had ordered, they searched the remains of Philip's men and found this. Jae-woo unrolled the scroll and said that this must be the main prize of the quest. Just by the shine alone, it was clear that the thing was first class. He praised Piffenheim for a job well done and asked about a side quest. He replied that, as ordered, they dressed one of Philip's men in Pessimit faction clothing and disguised him as a demon. Suddenly someone shouted that he was asking for mercy. He would do anything, just don't kill. Piffenheim explained that it was one of Philip's men who hid and asked what to do with him. Philip's man begged, anything, just have mercy. Jae-woo said with a grin, Dear Pizamut, he hopes that he will like the gift he sent him. A detachment of warriors was moving along the road. They were led by Lawrence, the captain of the Royal Guard, who was directly subordinate to Roelin. Suddenly, he saw the bodies lying ahead and gave the order to all units to stand still. His assistants said that there seemed to have been a battle with Patsamit's forces here. The guards shouted that they had found a survivor and brought him to Lawrence. Lawrence asked. He claims that the item was stolen. The surviving warrior replied that he did, and then they were surrounded by Pedzamut's forces in a desperate attempt to rescue Prince Philip. Lawrence said that while his comrades were dying, he hid. The warrior admitted that yes. The captain thrust his sword into the ground in anger and said regretfully that if only he had been a little faster. He grabbed the prince's man by the shoulders and said, Just think, he risked his life to protect his master. He is an example of a true knight. Lawrence shouted loudly to the troops so that everyone would listen to him. He declared that the man had risked his life to protect his commander. Although they lost the battle, the spirit of chivalry is not broken. Let us take an example from him and scour the entire area in search of Prince Philip. Rosegrant's Pink Palace. There was a beautiful long-haired lady in the main hall of the palace. Lawrence reported to her on bended knee. He reported that, as she had ordered, they had pursued Pisamit's forces and had indeed found traces of Philip. But he had already fled, and his exact location was unknown. The lady asked what happened to that item. She was sure that Philip had it. Lawrence replied that those Pesamut bastards had taken him. The lady stated that the name Pesamut was already starting to get tiresome. The captain said that he was guilty. If necessary, he would be punished. The lady said that the subject was more important now. It was the only way to return Prince Philip to the status of a voter. She added that the prince was not the kind of person who would die so easily. The lady ordered Lawrence to go to Pesamut and deliver a message. Let him give up that item. Roland, the demonic lord of the rose, added that otherwise it would be no fun. Pisamut Bays. Pisamut asked again. He said that this crazy woman was resurrected. The assistant confirmed that yes, everything is correct. Pisamut said that it was impossible. That monstrous bitch had returned, but his trap was perfect. The assistant said that she was just a person, but Petsamut shouted that he didn't understand anything. He still hadn't forgotten how this woman had burst into Offa's dungeon and killed all of his subordinates, and she cut off his head. Pisamut asked his assistant if he knew how it all started. One of Off's men stepped on her snack. Since then, all the demonic lords call her Margaret, Storm, and Destruction. A servant ran into the hall, shouting that a message had arrived from the demon lord Roland. Pisamut said, "What kind of nonsense is this? This is not the best time. What will she do this time?" He read the message carefully, and he roared with rage. This crazy woman, why does she think that he has that item? This mad woman demands that very item from him. The assistant wondered why Roland thought they had that item. They didn't even get close. They lost Hexus when they were chasing Philip. This is the suspicious resurrection of Margaret and the disappearance of that object. The assistant thought for a moment. There were results, but the reasons were still unclear, and suddenly it dawned on him. There was someone else behind all of this. Jae-woo sneezed loudly. Piffenheim asked if he had caught a cold, and also asked what he planned to do with Philip's body. Jae-woo replied that he would make him into an undead creature. Perhaps he would be useful later. He added that this is the main thing now. The Golden Imperial Decree serves as proof of the Elector's authority. Jiwoo thought that now he had both Philip's body and the Golden Imperial Decree. He turned to Piffenheim, and he shouted loudly that the world belonged to him. A caravan of merchants was moving along the road. One of the merchants turned to his interlocutor, calling him the head of the trade guild, and said that they had made good money again. He replied that the order for an economic blockade was already in effect, so this was their last chance. They had to squeeze out every last drop. The merchant said that on such an occasion, it would be nice to have a good drink. He just knew the right place. But then the head of the trade guild was suddenly struck by a blow. The caravan was attacked by robbers who shouted that they needed to take everything from them, to rob them down to the last coin. The merchant drew his blade and shouted that this was an attack. Everyone take up arms. He entered into a fight with the leader of the bandits. The leader said that they seemed to have made a good profit. This must be payment for the deal with Roland. The merchant shouted back, "What the hell are they doing? Do they even understand where the money was supposed to go?" However, the leader knocked the blade out of his hands and said, "So what?" Soon, the fight ended. The robbers gained the upper hand. The leader told the merchant that if he didn't like something, Walpurgis would have to cry, and let him also capture his uncle. Jae-woo sat on the sofa next to Walpurgis. She treated the scratches on his face. Walpurgis asked him to be patient for a little while and asked where he had managed to get so injured. Suddenly, Margarita burst into the room with a loud scream. Valor had returned. Jae-woo and Walpurgis froze in surprise. Margaret's eyes widened in surprise. She screamed. Walpurgis took off her helmet. Margarita scolded Walpurgis, saying that this would give the old woman a heart attack. She said that she understood everything. The time comes when you no longer want to hide yourself. That's what a woman's heart is. Walpurgis smiled shyly in response. Margareta stated that Valor should take care of her if he ever made her cry. Then she will fold it in half. Then Margarita asked Jae-woo. He said that Philip was dead. He replied that, yes, and added that now his body is with his friends. They are looking after it. Margarita said that he had died anyway and stated that it would not be a problem. She really did want to finish him off herself. Jae-woo said that he died anyway, and so what, and thought that Philip was probably lucky that he died at his hand. He addressed the abbess, calling her Mar, and declared that he had a gift for her. Jae-woo laid out a pile of gold coins and said that he had collected it from the remnants of Philip's gang. With this, she will be able to buy any sweets she wants. Margarita asked if he was, by any chance, a saint of mercy and said that he suddenly became somehow cute. Walpurgis asked Jae-woo what these stacks of papers were. They looked like letters. Margaret looked at the sheets of paper and said that this was correspondence between Philip and Roland. It seemed she was trying to put him on the throne. Jae-woo recalled that Roland and the current emperor had a rather strained relationship due to taxes. Margarita said that this is the very same decree about the blockade. The emperor ordered the confiscation of goods from all guilds associated with Roelin, causing the nearby knightly houses to literally break loose. That's why the Ritter Trading House attacked the Ignis Trading Guild. And because of this, poor Walpurgis gets on her nerves. But Walpurgis stopped her, and she fell silent, embarrassed. Jae-woo asked what happened. Walpurgis said that she would explain everything herself. After listening to her explanation, Jae-woo said that things had gone too far. Who would have thought that the economic blockade would lead to a conflict with the Elector of Bayern? In the evening, Walpurgis knocked on Jae-woo's room and asked permission to enter. She said that she wanted him to forget everything he heard today. After all, it didn't concern him initially. Jae-woo replied that he couldn't, but if it concerned her, he wanted to help. Walpurgis said things had gone too far. If she accepts his help in this, she will be too ashamed. Jae-woo thought that Walpurgis was indeed reliable, but she still lacked experience and her heart was too kind. So he took her hand and said that this was really too serious for a mercenary like him. But he wants to help. He wants to become her stronghold. Jae-woo added that mercenaries also have their merits. He also stated that he was confident in himself. Jiwoo walked with a firm step into Lady Margaret's chambers. He looked so impressive that the nuns standing at her door did not dare stop him. Jae-woo opened the door and shouted, "Mar!" Margarita was devouring sweets at this time and said in surprise, "Valor." Jae-woo said that this was the magical lightning that Philip had and a bunch of gold coins inside. He asked if she was interested. Jae-woo said that if she opens it, now the reward will double. She wants to try. Margareta excitedly declared that the reward would be tripled. Jae-woo asked Mar what kind of gloves these were. She replied that this was an improved version of the magical lightning that she had just discovered. Now she only had to wave her palm. He waved his hand, and a flask of water appeared in it. Holding the flask in his hand, Jae-woo thought that he had never seen anything like this before. Could it be that they had secretly made an update? Patches that make life more convenient are always a joy. Suddenly, the horse stopped under him, and he was doused with water. Jae-woo asked Philly why she stopped. They stood in front of the entrance to the great city of Pluzan. Jae-woo said tiredly that he had finally arrived here. He feels like he's been standing in a 3-hour line at Disneyland. Jae-woo thought the city looked just as he remembered it. Pluzan is a city where representatives of 1,000 times live peacefully. The great one everyone is talking about here is the demon lord Cobalt. Cobalt played an important role in uniting cultures using his vast knowledge and eloquence. He is also considered the main human-friendly demon lord and is also a key figure who can help in that matter. Suddenly, someone greeted him. The unusual-looking goblin called him an adventurer with a striking aura. Jae-woo asked if he knew him. He replied that he didn't, but his aura was too strong to ignore. He said that the striking aura was probably due to the SS rank skill Chieftain's Majesty, which increased charisma and imposingness as mastery increased. Jae-woo thought that this might be useful in the future. He told the goblin that he came here to see Cobalt. He stated that, as expected from such an outstanding personality, it was as if two great leaders were drawn to each other. He himself, by the way, also has business with Cobalt, so he will carry it out. They went to the castle of Cobalta, and they were in the reception hall. The goblin asked them to wait and said that tea would be served now. Jae-woo received a message that his skill level in the leader's majesty skill had increased. People began to notice his charisma, and his skill level was 1. He thought, so this skill only just became level 1. While this goblin recognized it, looking around the hall, Jae-woo said that Cobalt Narcissus, as before, is a statue in honor of himself. The goblin interrupted his thoughts by loudly announcing that his tea was ready. Jae-woo asked the goblin what brought him here, and he replied that he came to register his marriage with him. He has quite a warm relationship with him. Jae-woo thought that everyone else called Cobalt the Great, and this goblin simply called him he. It was quite strange. He decided it was worth checking it out. He asked the goblin. He must be wearing a wedding ring on his hand. He replied that, as expected, he had guessed correctly. He had given 10 years of his salary for it. Jae-woo grinned and said, I see. He said, calling his interlocutor Cobalt, that he was the actor to have. The goblin asked, confused, what he meant by this ring. Jae-woo stated that wasn't this the ruby ring that he treasured so much, and the way the goblin said that he was supposedly outstanding was also suspicious. And most importantly, he doesn't call himself great. The goblin said that everything was as they said. He had a keen sense of smell. He said that everything was correct. He was the ruler of Pluzan. Demon Lord Cobalt, Lord of Shadows. He probably came to him about the Walpurgis matter. Jae-woo replied that it was true. He thought he might have a lead or useful information. Cobalt said he really knew what he needed, but he has a condition. Jae-woo thought he knew it. His obsession with knowledge had been evident in the previous chapters. He is the same infamous pervert who would spare no expense to find out even what kind of underwear the Emperor wore. And he knows all the most interesting things, from future targets in the war to forecasts for the real estate market. Cobalt said, let him be his friend. Without thinking, Jae-woo shouted, Kaoi, hai ofane xiansneadi. Okay, but then he looked at Cobalt in surprise. He stated that he might not be aware, but he would soon be in the spotlight. From his victory on Hexus to his dealings with an overly strict paladin, a relationship with someone like him would be extremely beneficial for him. Jae-woo asked, and how to show him that they are friends. Cobalt handed him a certain object. It's a communication ring, just so they can call each other when they're bored. Jae-woo thought that he was plotting something. He didn't understand him at all. Cobalt said that now, as a sign of their friendship, he would give him a piece of information that might interest him. Jae-woo asked, "What is this?" Kubalt replied that he would find a clue in the capital of the Duchy of Saxe-Dresden. The capital of Saxe is Dresden. Jae-woo stopped in front of the city gate. The guard sternly asked him who he was. Jae-woo smiled and activated the skilled chieftain's majesty. The guards were stunned and couldn't even stand on their feet. Jae-woo said that they should not dare to block his path. And he entered the city. The city's inhabitants parted in fear before him, and some even fell on their faces. Jae-woo headed to the Velia Trade Guild. The maid ran to the guild master and shouted that some outstanding person was coming here. "He's almost here." Jae-woo went inside. The guild leader asked why someone like him came here. Jae-woo replied that he came to make a deal. Jae-woo asked Kubalt what he knew about Dresden. He replied that the Velia Trade Guild and the knightly house of Ritter from those parts were bound by a huge debt. They are in a debtor-creditor relationship. Jae-woo thought that he had no idea about it, as expected of Kubalt. He is the same man who has repeatedly gained the upper hand in the information war in all their previous clashes. In other words, Kubalt is the Lord of Shadows. Kubalt said that, judging by his face, he was pleased with this information, but there was something else. The guild master's daughter. The guild leader said that this was his daughter Maran, although now she is lying in bed. Just recently, she was a cheerful and healthy girl. But then she suddenly began to fade and eventually lost the strength to even lift a spoon. They invited all the famous healers from all over the continent, but they just shook their heads. If this continues, he will lose his daughter forever. The guild leader shouted that there had to be some way to save her. He turned to Jae-woo and said that he was asking the outstanding adventurer to bring back his daughter's smile. Jae-woo replied that to begin with, he shouldn't be called an outstanding adventurer, but should just be called Valor. He added that this is precisely why he came to make a deal. Even with the naked eye, it is clear that his daughter's condition is extremely serious. She has severe muscle loss and a persistent fever that cannot be cured with regular medication, but there is still a way to cure this disease. The guild leader asked what this method was. Jae-woo replied, "Grossglockner, we need an elixir from those places." The guild leader said in a low voice that he wanted to say that it was almost impossible to save her. "If you return from Grossglockner, I will grant you any wish. In this world, that is just another way of saying impossible." The Grossglockner Demon Dragon Canyon is a huge canyon known for its breathtaking views. It is located in the Ego East of the Empire, in the domain of the demonic dragon Schwarzteufel. Although there are only a few ancient dragons left on the continent, its power is immeasurable. Alvide dieser Fein, adeditile som kader en beorde knativen ededarns, dien den berwit with you whole get doubts, for my glitted e2 being alien. The canyon he rules is teeming with countless demonic creatures. It is a deadly place for both humans and demons, a hopeless challenge for anyone. Jae-woo thought, that is, for ordinary people. He told the guildmaster not to worry, he would go there. A message appeared that the acting skill had been activated, and with his devilish artistry, he could deceive and ridicule the enemy. The guild leader stated that he couldn't allow him to do this. If anyone had to go, it was him. But Jae-woo told him that what his daughter needed most right now was not an elixir, and her father's sincere love. The guild leader asked what he could do for Sir Valor. He replied that it was nothing complicated. He had heard that the Ritter family owed a huge sum to the Velia Trade Guild. He would like to take this debt upon himself. He reminded the guildmaster that all this was for the sake of his only daughter, and the guildmaster agreed. Jae-woo stated what a perfect moonlit night it was for climbing. And what a stunning view it is. Jae-woo picked a plant and said, "Look how big this one is." He asked Philly if she knew what it was. This is a precious medicinal herb that grows only here. He treated her to some grass and told her to listen to him carefully. Thanks to our excellent security, neither evil people nor demons can enter this place. Even the wild grass in this canyon is infused with the demonic dragon's mana and is considered a rare medicine outside of this place. Even a handful of soil here is a pure treasure. Jae-woo declared that he would not only save the guildmaster's daughter, but also make money. This herb also has an excellent taste. But then a stone hit him on the head. Jae-woo turned around indignantly. He saw a goblin who hissed, "Get away, human!" Behind him stood a multitude of goblins who claimed that the land belonged to them. The goblins were busy gathering herbs and digging the ground. Jae-woo watched them lazily with a glass in his hand. He shouted sternly at them. Didn't he tell them to dig properly? It needs to be done this way, cleanly and beautifully. Didn't he tell them not to damage the roots when they dig them up? If they continue to work anyhow, he will simply bury them all back in their graves. A little earlier, these goblins declared that this land belonged to them, and they attacked him. Then Jae-woo activated the skill Absorb Blood Tier. The goblins were defeated with one attack. Jae-woo called them idiots and asked why they even tried to start a fight. He used his necromantic powers and commanded, "Rise." The slain goblins rose and looked at him with obedient eyes. He clapped his hands and declared that everything was just fine. Jae-woo asked the goblin Kururak, who served him, "Why did you attack if you had no chance of winning?" He replied that they had underestimated his true greatness. They, the worthless ones, thank him for sparing them and giving them shelter. Jae-woo said that he should thank him for working hard and asked who else besides them. The hobgoblins lived in this canyon. He replied that besides them, many other monsters live here: werewolves, snakes, giant centipedes. There are also a lot of ogres here. Jae-woo told Kururak that he seemed to have learned and remembered everything. Leaving him with them was the right decision. Suddenly, the communication ring on his finger gave a signal. Jae-woo accepted it and said, "Hello." Kubalt said he sounded cheerful, and he asked if Valor had forgotten about the communication ring that he had given him. Jae-woo replied that he had almost forgotten. Kubalt said that he, as always, had a good joke and asked how things were in Grossglockner. Jae-woo said that the weather was fine. There was a cool breeze and the moon was magnificent. Kubalt said that Plusem is also living a full life, preparing for the upcoming festival, and he advises that if you have time, you should visit it. He also heard that Walpurgis had recently visited Ritten, but they had made outrageous demands for repayment of the debt. They also threatened to confiscate goods intended for trade in Roydlin. It was all completely one-sided and unfair. Jae-woo stated that these bastards are starting to cross all boundaries. He asked Kubalt to tell Walpurgis that she should behave well. As if she would accept their conditions, they needed to buy as much time as possible. Kubalt promised that he would do it. After all, that was the relationship he had with him. Jae-woo said that when he returned, he would make sure that he was paid handsomely. Kubalt replied that he was looking forward to it. They say that Grossglockner is a real gold mine. He said that, judging by the noise, he was busy and cut off the connection. Jae-woo was indignant. He actually hung up. Kururak reported that something had happened. Jae-woo lazily asked what it was. It turned out that they were surrounded by huge green giants. They were ogres. Jae-woo ordered Kururak to step aside and pushed him aside. He saw that all the goblins were already unconscious. Jae-woo thought that with his level of blood tier absorption, the goblins didn't stand a chance. And summoning the undead won't help either. They'll end up like those goblins. Jae-woo thought it was just as well. It was time for him to stretch a bit. Using the gauntlet, he extracted one of the 12 indestructible swords of the Empire, the indestructible relic of House Paltz, Rublania, a relic passed down through the House of Paltz for 200 years. The Rublania enhances mastery of the exclusive art of fencing. The ogres recoiled and growled menacingly. Jae-woo grinned, so they recognized this sword. Yes, it was the exclusive sword of the Moon Shadow sword art. That fool Philip just locked it in a warehouse and chose some cheap sword instead. Jae-woo used the Moon Shadow sword art's zero form, Dark Moon. Soon, all the ogres were defeated. Kururak ran up to him shouting, "My master!" Jae-woo thought it worked. To be honest, he was worried since it had been so long since he used this technique. Kururak was delighted and said that it was incredible. Jae-woo modestly replied that it was nothing. Now he can maintain this state for only 30 seconds, but in his best times, he could reach as long as 10 minutes. Suddenly, someone asked if he did it. A figure in a black cloak demanded that he answer. Jae-woo attempted to use the Moon Shadow sword art, but a clawed paw darted towards him, and she grabbed him by the neck. A creepy-looking girl with horns said she would wring his neck. The girl threw him far away with a strong blow. Jae-woo received a message that he had taken a powerful hit and had 10% health remaining. Jae-woo thought it was crazy how his health could be reduced so much from just one hit. The girl said it was a wild morning and asked him why he was destroying her property. Jae-woo asked who she was and demanded that she identify herself. The girl claimed to be the owner of Gross Glockner. Jae-woo was surprised. It turns out that she is the demonic dragon Schwarze Teufel. In the previous cycle, he was always a huge dragon. What happens with this cycle? The dragon girl said that he was distracted. She instantly approached him, and she said he was too relaxed. She then stated that she felt energy from another dimension. Jae-woo wondered why this self-proclaimed lizard was breaking the fourth wall. The girl said, unnecessary chatter, arrogant, unacceptable, and she rushed at him screaming, "Die!" Jae-woo shouted for her to stop and listen to him first. She replied, questions and answers, pointless. Jae-woo shouted that if he died, the demonic dragon would die too. The girl stopped and said, "Bad morning, explanation." Jae-woo explained that he had prophetic dreams and he saw her in them. She, the demonic dragon, will die a painful death. She clarified that his death was her death. Jae-woo replied that yes, and if she didn't believe him, then why didn't she check his memories? The dragon girl swung at him, but then she changed her mind and said, "Okay." She said that if he lied, he would die. Then she put her hand on his head and said that if he moved his head, he would die. Jae-woo said that he understood her. Suddenly, the girl pulled away from him with a surprised look. She said that this man's memory was full. Additional information, observation, and his memories are required. Jae-woo opened his memories and told her, "Look." She said that this was unacceptable and suspicious. "Can't see, blurry. The location of the memory is unknown." Then she exclaimed, "So it's true," and Jae-woo replied that that was enough. He wouldn't show her anything else. The dragon girl was coming to her senses from what she saw. Jae-woo thought that if she saw more, she would notice his memories from other cycles. The girl said, "The check is her corpse. The question is who killed her." She thanked Jae-woo and said, "He's a reward. He won't die on this mountain. Let him go." But Jae-woo said he didn't want that. He offered to make a deal and named Shubi. Her name is too long, so he will now call her Shubi. He stated that she could survive. The girl objected that Shubi is not. She is 3,000 years old, but Jae-woo said that this is a modern MZ address. A message has appeared stating that the quest Demonic Dragon's Trust has been updated, resulting in the game's difficulty being partially increased. Someone's foot stepped on the snake. The large man said, "The Lord of the Edge of the Abyss, deeper than darkness, the King of Chaos and Disorder. His name is Demon Lord Odgash." Then his servant interrupted him and said that they were almost there. Odgash indignantly said that he was in the middle of his entrance exam. The servant apologized. Odgash said sadly that the mood was still spoiled. Someone's voice said that it was her subordinate. "Please forgive him." Odgash's face came to life. So it was she. His daughter is Caliona. The girl said that she, Caliona, greeted her master. He replied that he had promised that if this expedition was successful, he would fulfill one of her cherished wishes. In response to her gratitude, he said that she was his precious daughter and that this was quite natural. Odgash spoke loudly so that his servants would listen to him carefully. They are heading to Gross Glockner, where that demonic dragon lives. The beasts she commands are nothing, but the dragon herself is not simple. But they shouldn't be afraid. The only thing required of them is to devour everything they see and trample all living things without pity. The Lord of Greed, Odgash, claimed Schwarze Teufel as his own. Then he said, "Now let's go, my vile demons," and he led them after him. Jae-woo said that a new night had come, despite the fact that strange monsters and a dragon with incomprehensible linguistic insertions had gotten to them. They must collect as many medicinal herbs as possible and bring them back to Dresden. Jae-woo shouted encouragingly, "Let's begin." The goblin supported him with friendly shouts. He gave the command, everyone to their places. Kururak brought him a glass of mandrake cocktail. Jae-woo thanked him and told him to bring the same one for Philly. He thought, suddenly encountering a dragon in such a place, if he didn't remember the previous passage, he would definitely be dead. Why is everything so weird this time? From Philip's betrayal, before the dragon's sudden change in appearance. It's a good thing at least Walpurgis's face turned out to be cute. Jae-woo reviewed his actions history for this playthrough. He said that in everything he had experienced up to this point, there was not a single coincidence with previous experiences. Each event is completely new. He, Valorstead Valor, or rather the savior of humanity, Han Jae-woo, top one in the ranking, remembers every piece of the Grossglockner map down to the last pebble, and he was confused about the location of the demonic dragon's appearance. It was some kind of nonsense. Something was wrong. The Battle of Harfheim between the Steel Selector and Pesamut, the betrayal of Friedrich, the right hand of the Elector of Steel, the crisis with the abbess of the Walpurgi Monastery, Margaretha, the main events are still the same, but the smaller events in them are different. It's not just a new world, so why are they so different? Looks like he's missing something. One goblin told the other that he had told him to be careful, and Jae-woo asked what had happened. The goblin replied that it was nothing serious. He had just gotten hurt while collecting herbs. Jae-woo told them to be careful. He himself knew what would happen if they scratched the roots. He thought that every time he turned away, problems arose. The goblin asked another if he was badly hurt, but he replied that everything was fine, brother. Jae-woo thought that it turns out they were brothers. If you think about it, Charlotte also had a sister, but in the last playthrough, he didn't know about it. He remembered that incident in the tavern, and also Margaret and Walpurgis. Since his passage changed, his perspective has changed too. Previously, his character was the Steel Voter, Lord of the Empire, the hero who saved the world. Previously, he always started with unusual and high characteristics, but now there is nothing outstanding. The most ordinary character. All he has are memories from countless previous playthroughs. It's just a pathetic sight. But thanks to this, he sees the facial expressions of the people around him, and those little connections he missed. And the face of Walpurgis. Only after starting the game as a commoner, he finally saw all this. It's the same with Walpurgis. Before, he would have simply repaid her the debt, and that would have been the end of it. He didn't even know that such circumstances existed here. He seemed to understand her sudden proposal that day, a puzzle piece that reveals the true ending that no one has reached. This is a sudden space created by her, and suddenly, the commoner class is unlocked. It turns out that, according to Aquila's plan, everything turned out to be just training. Kururak reported that the demonic dragon was rushing towards him. Shubi screamed. They came, just as he said. Jae-woo said, "Thank you for the predictable outcome, Aquila," Shubi asked. "Good morning." Jae-woo said that it made him remember again how wonderful this game is, Shubi asked. "Bad morning." Jae-woo gave the command, forward. Now he understood Aquila, how to fully enjoy this world. Now he would have a blast. He shouted, "Long live the new strategy." Shubi said to Kururaku, "You have lost your mind, your master," and he agreed. Odgash rushed forward, swinging his axe. His warriors followed him. He shouted, "Here he is, the demonic dragon Schwarze Teufel." The warriors chanted, "Odgash, Odgash." Kaliona said that something was approaching. Odgash asked, "A demonic dragon," but it turned out to be just a little man and a goblin. But Kaliona said, "More." There was a loud explosion ahead. Someone's voice said, "Wah, eh, yes, in a strong. Good morning." This is a dragon's nest. Then Shubi appeared and said, "Die." Odgash said, "How many years, how many winters, demonic dragon, he came with an offer. If she listens, it will seem tempting to her." But Shubi said, "Rejected." But she mentally said, "What did you say?" "Earth, impact, magic projection." Jae-woo mentally answered, "Okay, let's begin." Shubi passed it on. "Yes, I confirm." Shubi beckoned to Odgash with her paw and said, "Come here." He smiled understandingly. She wants to talk to him alone. What a shy girl. And the two of them left. Jae-woo sighed with relief and thought that he had been expecting Odgash's invasion, but this time he had arrived much earlier. He could be ignored, but the demonic dragon could still be useful. Jae-woo looked at the remaining warriors and said, "Just think, the greatest beauty of the continent, Lady Kaliona, is standing right in front of him." Kaliona removed her helmet and looked at him silently. Jae-woo thought she was quite an interesting character. Her role changes depending on the player's choice. She is the character with the highest risk and can be either an ally or an enemy. Her strength surpasses even Pisamut. It's not for nothing that they call her the Ice Queen. Jae-woo thought that she should be involved in his future strategy, so he smiled and said that she was even more beautiful in person. The spear point froze at his throat. One of the fighters accompanying Kallion blocked his path. Jae-woo said that he wanted to talk to their princess and asked the mute servant to step aside, but she fiercely rushed into an attack on him. Suddenly, Kururak stepped forward and called her dirt under her fingernails. If she was going to harm his master, she would have to beat him first. Jae-woo said that Kururak was unrecognizable. He ran from the demonic dragon with only his heels sparkling. He told the spearman that Kururak was much braver than her. Suddenly, a whip flashed, and the woman with the spear found herself entangled in it. Hexus appeared behind Jae-woo. She tugged at the whip. The woman's body lunged forward and was hit by Piffenheim's blow. He declared that he would strike down anyone who would threaten his master. Kalliona asked, "Vampires?" Jae-woo replied that it was true, so now everything would be fair. He asked her what it was like. Kalliona said, so that's where he gets his confidence from. But he should not forget that they are the legion of the demon lord Odgash. Kalliona ordered the troops to destroy them so that there would be no memory of the enemy left. Her army rushed into the attack with a cry for Lady Kalliona. Jae-woo's fighters rushed to meet them. Jae-woo himself entered into battle with Kalliona. Kalliona stated that it was impressive. Not only could he use necromancy, but he could also block her attack. He was stronger than Petzamut. Jae-woo said that it was an honor to receive such praise from Her Highness, but to call Odgash the Demon Lord. If only her father knew about this, he would cry blood. The only daughter of the former first-rank Demon Lord Kaimars, Kalliona Raminia Kaimars. Kalliona asked how he knew this. Jae-woo laughed and said it was funny. Kalliona asked why he was laughing. He replied, how could he not laugh, being so stupid? To follow the killer of his own father. Kalliona angrily asked who was whose killer. He was the one she respected most in this world. The warmth in his eyes when he looked at her always gave a sense of security and instilled hope in their fellow demons. He was a father she could be truly proud of. He was her source of happiness. But then Kaimars was killed by Gorokalm and Kaltus. Odgash then saved her and declared that from now on, they were the strongest of the demon kings. He said that he hated them too. Lord Kaimars was his only master and longtime comrade. But now she needs to restrain herself. When the time comes, he will certainly help her. Will help to carry out her revenge. Kalliona told Jae-woo to shut up. How dare he insult her lord? He should not expect mercy. She herself would tear him to pieces. Jae-woo said that she was blinded by her loyalty. Then she should look here first. He launched a magic projection. Odgash, addressing the demonic dragon, stated that it was quite romantic. She and he alone like this. How touching. Shubi asked, Kaimars, murder, but why? Kaimars, Kallion's daughter, his subordinate. Odgash was outraged by what she was saying. Why did she think that he killed Kaimars? Gorokalm and Kaltus killed him. Shubi replied, it's pointless to deny it. Everyone knows the truth. He's a traitor. Odgash said that she turned out to be more persistent than he thought. Then he said that she was right. Those idiots would never have been able to kill Kaimars. He planned it all. When he told them about Kaimar's only weakness, they simply glowed with anticipation. The sword fell from Kalliona's hands. She said what she had done. This can't be. Lord Odgash was her father's right hand. They were like blood brothers. Jae-woo thought that everything seemed to be going well. He remembered how he explained the plan to Shubi. He asked if there was a magical projection device in the nest. Shubi replied that there was. Then she should use it and broadcast everything that happens. Let Odgash himself speak the shocking truth about Kaimar's death. Well, that's the whole plan. She'll manage it. Kalliona was silent, shocked by what she heard. Jae-woo thought that Shubi was a good girl. Thanks to her, half of the plan had already been completed. He will take care of the rest. Kalliona said that this whole time, it was all just a game. Even though they were so close, Hexus came up and reported that the cleanup was complete. Jae-woo ordered everyone to stay put and wait. She replied, yes, my lord. Jae-woo told Kallione that she had served for 50 years without knowing who her real enemy was. That was truly blind loyalty. But will she continue to live like this? Doesn't she thirst for revenge? Zhe said that he would teach her the Kaimar's summoning technique and let her decide for herself how to use it. Caliona thought it had been a long time since she had heard of this technique. It was her father's magic. Magic that draws on the power of the universe and is capable of defeating even an army of demons. Thanks to it, he became #1 among the demon kings. Caliona asked how a stranger like him could know about her. Only her father knew about it. Jae-woo remembered how he studied all the guides from beginning to end, so he knows it very well. How terrifying the power of the summoning technique is, and its one fatal weakness. But, of course, this part will have to be hidden for now. He told Calione that he saw this in the Gospel of the Seven Demons, which describes methods for confronting the hordes of darkness. Including Kaimar's summoning technique, it seemed quite funny. Caliona said that now everything was clear. No wonder something about him seemed strange. But she added that all this was useless. He was immortal. Even when Odgash was not her father's servant, he took this spell upon himself and still survived. If her father could not kill him, then neither could she. Jae-woo said that she was very much mistaken and that she should listen to him carefully. Her comrades, whom she relied on, have already been neutralized by his army of vampires. No matter how great her strength, she alone cannot stand against such power. So let her think about his proposal. Become his ally. What will she choose? Go with him or die here? A tear rolled down Caliona's cheek as she remembered her childhood. As a little girl, she told her father that when she grew up, she wanted to become a great demon king like him. Her father told her that then she would have to surpass him. She asked if he thought she could do it. He replied that, of course. After all, she is the daughter of Kaimars himself. Caliona asked if she could really kill Odgash. Jae-woo was surprised. She was crying. Piffenheim reproached him, saying that it was too much, and Hexus said that my lord was so stern. Jae-woo asked them what they expected from him, and told her to stop crying since she was the acting captain. Piffenheim noticed that she was still just a child by demonic standards. Did he really enjoy making children cry so much? Kurarak interrupted their conversation and asked where, by the way, the demonic dragon was now. The fight between the demonic dragon and Odgash was already over. Shubi was almost completely overwhelmed by him. Odgash said mockingly, "What a disappointment, demonic dragon, he didn't think she would fall so quickly." But Shubi made an obscene gesture at him and tried to run away. Odgash rushed after her. He shouted after her. What a pity. He thought she would gladly accept his offer. The demonic dragon turned around sharply, and she released a stream of flame at him. Odgash repelled her attack without much effort, and he threw her away with his blow. He said that if that's what she wanted, then nothing could be done. Odgash dealt another powerful blow, from which Shubi spread out on the ground. She said she would tear it apart, and took on her true form. The demonic dragon attacked Odgash. Kurarak screamed, an earthquake, and grabbed Jae-yu with his arms. He tried to free himself and told him to get lost and not interfere with their escape. Hexus, looking at the goblin, said, "How lovely, she can take him for herself. He wants to become her pet." Piffenheim reported that Lady Shubi's mana was getting out of control. Jae-woo replied that it really looked like that. Her polyform was about to appear. Piffenheim asked, "Oichua stapoy." Saber. Shidrua. Ali din radikas and radinguidas, wayan benichurbenda. La faeges. Jae-woo replied that he didn't understand, but in Gross Glockner, the battles imposed a huge penalty on Shubi. He turned to Calione, and he said that now her task had become even more important and asked if she could cope. Caliona answered firmly, yes. They finally reached the place and prepared to engage in battle with Odgash. The battle between the demonic dragon and Odgash became increasingly fierce. Odgash said, "We will solve everything by force, demonic dragon." Shubi unleashed another stream of flame at him. Odgash said that he couldn't believe that he was losing strength, that she was becoming more and more desirable to him. Shubi replied, arrogant. She repeats, "The world will collapse. There is no one. Emptiness. He and she, a union, is excluded." Odgash stated that she left him no choice. He screamed, plans had changed, and he dealt a powerful blow with the axe. The blow fell on the dragon. Odgash said, "A pathetic sight, demonic dragon. What a shame to lose like this. Shubi returned to her human form and tried to get up. Odgash stated that there was some reason why she was attached to this place, although he doesn't know what it is. Shubi grinned, and she told him to go to hell. Odgash said that she held out until the very end, and that was excellent. He raised his axe and declared that he would cut her in half. Shubi said, "My role, that's it." Suddenly, Jae-woo appeared, rushed at Odgash and cut off one of his horns. He said it was his turn now, and he stood in front of Shubi. She said, "You brat, you're late." Jae-woo pointed at her in response and said, "What a pathetic face." Odgash called him a clingy little man and asked what had happened to his Kaliona. Jae-woo asked again. She and shouted loudly. A shining seal appeared in the sky, and someone's voice said, "Father." Odgash looked up. There, in front of the seal, Kallion was hovering. She asked if he had anything to tell her. Odgash spread his arms and said, "My daughter, Kalliona, has finally mastered the summoning technique." He told her to use her powerful magic to defeat those idiots. Jae-woo asked Kallion what she was doing. How long would she listen to him talk nonsense and wanted to get fired on the very first day? Here he is, the sworn enemy who killed her father. Odgash asked what kind of nonsense this little man was talking. They used to drink together with Kaimars. Does he really think he killed him? Then he suddenly remembered his conversation with the demon dragon, in which he confessed that he had planned the murder of Kaimars. Odgash roared ferociously. He said, "So that's how it is. They were just playing with him." Jae-woo shouted at Shubi, asking her what she was doing and telling her to stop him before he went crazy, but she told him not to grumble. Roots emerged from the ground and began to entangle Odgash. It was Kalliona who began to use the summoning technique. Odgash said, "How funny, just great. Let them continue, little bastards." Kalliona strengthened her call. She screamed, "Die, Odgash." Kalliona's technique released a tremendous amount of power that crashed down on him. Odgash prostrated himself unconscious before her. Kalliona spoke up, finally doing it. She remembered her father. She finally got her revenge for him. But the battle was not over. Odgash stood before her again, saying that it was simply excellent. Kalliona looked at him, confused. Suddenly, Jae-woo jumped up to him and hit him, saying, "That's enough." Odgash said angrily, "An insignificant person, a despicable fly." But suddenly he noticed that his wounds were no longer regenerating. Jae-woo rushed at Odgash again. In his hand he held the horn, which he had previously cut off from him. With this horn he dealt a powerful blow to Odgash's head. Jae-woo said that in order to defeat an immortal, one must use a part of his own body. Messages have arrived about defeating the third monarch, Odgash, receiving items and new skills, and also receiving the title of hero. Shubi said that this is the end, fool. Life, mistake, minimum mana. What now, comrades? Everyone is dead. Kalliona wondered what she should do now. Jae-woo shouted at her that she was frozen and that she should hurry up. Kalliona thought she had finally found her place. The girl held a cup of medicine in her hands and complained to her father that it was too bitter. Her father, Guildmaster Velia, sternly told her that she still had to finish it. He added that Lord Valor and his companions risked their lives to get it. The daughter asked if she drank it all, he would fulfill her wish. Jae-woo said, "So that means they have reached an agreement about the debt." But the guild leader interrupted him and suggested that they talk about business somewhere away from his daughter. When they moved to another room, Jae-woo asked again if it was decided or not. The guild leader replied that there was resistance from the knightly order, and Jae-woo was indignant. How dare the debtor behave so brazenly? The guild leader said that it seemed like the elector from Saxon was involved. The representative of the trading house stated that they were VIP clients and had already spent a lot of money here, so how could he do this to them? Can't they help at least once, since there is a trusting relationship between the trading house and Valia? Why doesn't he just arrange a meeting with voter Saxena? Jae-woo said that means they are making a fuss because if the debt is repaid, they will lose contact with Saxon. Jae-woo thought that now it was clear why the Ritters were acting so brazenly. The strength of the Emperor and Bayern was approximately equal. But if you add voter Saxena into the mix, it's no wonder Walpurgis can't sleep at night. Jae-woo wondered if there was any way out. He approached the guildmaster and asked what if they considered other forms of compensation other than transferring the debt. Then Jae-woo asked if he knew how to intimidate people. The head of the Ritter trading house read the message. He asked his assistant if Sachs had really threatened to destroy them. He replied that in exchange for acknowledging the transfer of the debt, they offered to extend the repayment period. They had no choice but to acknowledge it. There was simply no other way. The chief ordered his assistant to immediately go to the capital. He could cling to the imperial cloak if necessary. He must do whatever it takes to fix this mess. Jae-woo read the message that his summon undead skill had increased, and the summoned vampires had been promoted to the Daywalker class. He said Rise Piffenheim to summon him. He appeared and greeted him. Jae-woo said that he, like the other vampires, had now become a daywalker, so he was giving him a special task. He declared that this letter contained his will and ordered it to be delivered to a man named Rebes Chaltz. He gave him the letters and told him to handle them with care. Piffenheim assured that he would carry out his instructions exactly. The guild leader informed Jae-woo that he had prepared everything he asked for. This is a carriage made by the best craftsmen, and only a few nobles can use it. Jae-woo looked at the carriage and said it was gorgeous. The guildmaster said that he had already loaded the payment for the herbs and some money for the journey. He would be provided with everything he needed. The leader asked what he was going to do with all this luxury. Jae-woo replied that he would smash the heads of those Ritter bastards. He asked if he wanted to know how he would teach them a lesson. The head replied that he did not. His daughter peeked out from behind the head. Jae-woo greeted her and said that although she felt better, she should still take care of herself. The girl said that she also brought something for him, and she kissed him on the cheek. The guildmaster and Caliona were astonished. The girl said that it was a gift. After Valor and the others left, she asked her father if he remembered that she said she had one wish. The father sadly replied that yes. The girl said that she wanted to become Mr. Valor's bride. The guild leader remembered how his daughter used to say that when she grew up, she would marry him, and he shouted loudly, "No!" Caliona declared that this girl was a real fighter, how boldly she claimed her rights to someone else's partner. Then she asked Jae-woo if he really liked money that much. He replied that she said so because she didn't know anything. The world was ruled by coins. Then he asked her not to look at him like that. She was setting a wrong example for her lackeys. Suddenly, his communication ring rang. Kubalt said that he heard that he returned from Grossglockner. He really succeeded. Jae-woo returned the greeting and asked if those Ritter bastards had already gotten away. Kubalt replied that yes, his crows were already surveying the area. He had contacted him as soon as he received the information. Jae-woo asked what the current operational situation was. As Lord Valor had expected, they left for the capital this morning. What did he do to them? They were furious. Kubalt said there was one more big piece of news. It is said that Roland, the demonic Lord of Rose, is now in the capital. Jae-woo said it was curious and asked if he could spread a rumor in the capital. Kubalt replied that Lord Valor thinks through everything down to the last detail. Of course he will do everything, because they have become very close. Jae-woo replied that that would be the end of it, and promised that he would make sure that he was generously rewarded. He switched off and thought that the word close seemed rather disgusting. Caliona asked if it was Kubalt of Pluzin. Milord's influence extends far further than she thought. Jae-woo looked at her and said it was time to get back to business. Caliona asked fearfully why he was looking at her like that. Jae-woo asked her how she felt about debuting on a big stage. The imperial capital is Vienna. The city's residents were walking along the streets. There was talk that Kimar's daughter was coming to the capital today. Kimar's died long ago, but rumors still circulate that Odgash killed him and kidnapped his daughter. He said he did it for the sake of Kimar's technique, but many think the real reason is that his daughter is simply a goddess of beauty. Someone in the crowd shouted, "Look, there she is." Caliona asked if this was really necessary. Jae-woo replied that of course her face was a strategic weapon. Caliona asked sheepishly if weapons weren't blades and battle axes. Everyone is staring at them. It seems a little weird. Jae-woo said, "Let them watch," and ordered them to put one hand under their chin and the other one on the bent knee and let him make as shy a face as possible. Caliona was indignant. He was seriously forcing the former commander, who once led an entire army, to do this. Jae-woo told her that everyone was watching, so he should do it, but she said that it was not befitting of a commander. Joo-woo asked what she wants to be fired. If she doesn't like something, then let her get lost. One hand under the face, the other one is on the knee, and a shy face. The audience froze in amazement. Caliona asked if she was doing everything right. The crowd burst into cheers. Caliona looked at them with fear and asked if this was how it should be. Roland gathered her subordinates. She announced that a very important guest was coming to visit them today. She regrets that this place is not her Rose Palace, because for her, this man is more precious than the Emperor, higher than any demon. So she asks everyone to try harder. Chefs must prepare the best dishes they have ever created. Let the maids decorate the hall so that it shines brighter than any palace. The servant reported that they were almost here. Roland ordered everyone to go to their places. This day should be unforgettable. All this is for my Lord Kaimars. The demonic Lord of the Rose is Roland. Her beauty and voice could captivate any man. Even demons envied her. But her true power was not in her appearance. Thanks to her managerial abilities, she turned Roserent into a powerful state. She was called the Bride of Roserent. But there was something no one knew, the story behind her crown. Roland stated that the only one she could open her heart to was Lord Kaimars. Her feelings are unchanged, she asks him, begs him. But then his daughter ran up to them and asked who this sweet lady was. She was so beautiful. Kaimars replied that she was his colleague. The girl handed Roland some sweets and asked her to accept them, and she and Uncle Odgash did so. The lady is so charming, so she wants to give her the best ones. Roland accepted the sweets and whispered that she would probably never find a place where she belonged again. She asked Princess Calione if she ever built her own castle. Could she ask her to give it a name? She would be honored if it were Lady Calione who named him. The girl replied that since she was so radiant and beautiful, how about the Palace of Roses? Roland recalled those past events with sadness. Demonic Vedatica Rose Roland said that since Lord Kaimars is no longer with them, she came to meet him. His only blood heir, Lady Calione. She said she was sorry. If they had been at the Palace of Roses, she would have given her a much more elegant reception. Caliona replied that this was more than enough. Roland added that she also expressed gratitude to Lord Valor because it was he who brought back the princess, whom everyone thought was dead. She stated that she had heard about him from her friend Countess Bayern, who said that he overcomes difficulties in unusual ways. And there is a curious connection between them. Jae-woo suggested leaving it for now and moving closer to the matter. Roland said it was a shame because she loved love stories so much. But conversations about business also bring her considerable satisfaction. Jae-woo stated that the real reason for his visit was that he had come to deliver a message from Steel Elector Prince Philip. Roland said that meant he was still alive and asked if she could meet him. Jae-woo replied that no, he was in bad condition right now, so he was here instead. Roland stated that it was time to get to the point then. Lord Valorstead Valor. Jae-woo reported that Prince Philip said the following. Since he is unable to act openly, he vests in Valorstead Valor the powers of attorney with unlimited jurisdiction. In the near future, Roland will have to assist him in returning the finger. GK thought that even if he had to lie, he had to persuade Roland to his advantage. Considering that Margareta was under the curse of he who hides in the grave, Petsamut also receives the support of the Great Lord. Therefore, Margaret alone will not be enough. He cannot personally kill someone who is under the protection of the Great Lord. Therefore, bringing in Roland is crucial. He will have to shift all the blame onto Petsamut. Jae-woo finished speaking and said that this was His Highness's message. Roland stated that she had a condition. Jae-woo asked what it was. She said that he was probably already aware of her current situation. If he really is His Highness's representative, then the Emperor will not be able to ignore his words. Jae-woo said that if that's what she was talking about, then she didn't have to worry. Everything is already prepared. Imperial capital Vienna, Imperial Palace. The envoy of the Ritter Trading House, addressing His Majesty, said that how could this be, since they had been promised support. Franz IV, the ruler of the empire, replied that he was very sorry about that. However, after listening to the circumstances, his heart softened. The envoy tried to say that a certain order must be observed in such matters, but then his gaze fell on the bags of gold lying behind the throne. The emperor stated that he had said no outright, but since they had brought a modest offering, he had heard that the Velia Trade Guild supported them. The envoy recalled how the head of the trading house sent him to the capital and ordered that this issue be resolved by any means necessary. He thought, what bastards. The steward announced that Lord Valor had arrived. Jae-woo entered the hall and said that it was a great honor for him to appear before His Majesty. Valor stead valor at his service. The emperor said that it was glorious. He was expecting him and advised not to pay attention to this man. He is nothing more than a screen, an empty decoration. Jae-woo told the emperor that he would like to speak privately with His Majesty. The guards began to lead the envoy of the trading house out of the hall. He shouted that this couldn't be done, that the Ritter Trading House had done so much for him, but it was all useless. Jae-woo waved after him with a smile. Odgash Castle is interessant. The young girl screamed fiercely. This pig, this thick-headed old donkey, is her father. She told me to leave everything to her. It's all because of that damned Caliona. A servant came in and reported that urgent news had arrived. Odgash's daughter exploded. What else? The servant said that the emperor had issued a decree imposing an economic blockade on their lands. The girl looked at him angrily. And then she said, "And what is this supposed to mean? It seems they are in trouble." The emperor asked Valor if he was satisfied, and he replied that everything was fine now. Jae-woo stated that, looking at the prosperous capital, he could not admire His Majesty's achievements, and he felt embarrassed to set foot on this sacred land. The emperor said, "Enough flattery." He thought to himself that this was a rather slippery type. In his short time in the political arena, he has cleverly used Kaimar's daughter to pacify regions hostile to demons, and made them his allies. There is undoubtedly some purpose to his visit. Still, he's no more than a drunken mouse in front of a cat. Jae-woo decided that this was what he must be thinking right now. He already understood everything. He'll have to drag out time and chat, but the end is still predetermined. The emperor said that he was very self-confident, which is what brought him here. Jae-woo knelt down, and he said that he humbly asks His Majesty to move the economic blockade from Rosarant to the domain of the demon king Odgash. The emperor asked what he would gain from this, and Jae-woo replied that it would be an alliance with the demon lord of Rosenrath. The emperor said that this was ridiculous. Did he really think that this 1,000-year-old spider widow would submit to his will? He would not compromise. Jae-woo assured her that she would carry out His Majesty's will without the slightest hesitation and handed him a message from Roland. The emperor was surprised and asked if he was sure about this. Roland herself agreed to pay him 10,000 florins a year. Is there any evidence of the authenticity of this document? Jae-woo said loudly that Odgash was now the most despised villain on the entire continent. If we blockade the Demon King's domain, His Majesty's name will become known to the whole world. The emperor stated that this, unfortunately, was not enough. There was no room for emotions in politics. Jae-woo thought, what an impudent bastard when he blockaded Rosenat simply because Roland did not pay tribute. He did not think so. He said that His Majesty must know that Odgash died in the last battle, but his supporters are already preparing to declare war on the demon dragon. The source of the conflict has not yet been eliminated. The citizens of the empire are frightened. It is time to make a decision. The emperor declared that his tongue was truly silver, and with such persuasive powers, he could have paid 10 million florins without blinking an eye. Jae-woo replied that His Majesty was too kind, and a message appeared that the skill Mephistopheles game had been activated. Jae-woo said that he only wanted to repay His Majesty's generosity with a modest token of loyalty as a devoted son of the empire. The emperor slammed his fist on the table and shouted that he would not fall for his sweet words. How dare he test the patience of the one who rules the continent? Jae-woo was surprised. Did it really not work? The emperor shouted, "Guards, don't let this man leave alive." Jae-woo was indignant. What is His Majesty Dwakmero? But the order followed to take this man away immediately. Jungwoo thought, why is he acting like this? This simply can't be happening. In the Imperial Palace, the orchestra played loud music. The Imperial reception was in full swing. The crowd was having a great time. The emperor declared that in all the years of his reign, he had never met a man with such sweet speeches. Jae-woo replied, "That's how it is, your majesty." The emperor said, "Didn't he tell him to call him uncle? If he calls him your majesty again, he will be upset." Jae-woo obediently said, "Of course, uncle." The emperor said, "It sounds much better that way, doesn't it, my lovely nephew?" In the end, the emperor said directly what he wanted: money, power. He will give him everything. The envoy of the trading house Ritter whispered bitterly, "Ako desires imi mon by bintrotsa says, Eikston chibraides denesati dinsorits a mainstirisas afterbi anaisins astamians. Imititas aisin tise. Ein maidstick demesletuker play in spalays. Easy festein and arrangery." How did it come to this? His assistant suggested that maybe they could just kidnap Dame Walpurgis. Another assistant said it was too risky, but the first one countered that there were no other options anyway. The envoy called them ignorant fools and said that it was not that simple. If they screwed up, their families would get it too. He can't believe they were serious about suggesting this. "We need to act now." Jae-woo said that he was dying. Caliona said that it served him right. That's why everyone drank. Jae-woo called her silly and said that this was what they called the high life. In the old days, he could last 7 rounds in a row. He told Calione to stop talking and get out of here, but then his communication ring signaled. Kubialt said that a disaster had happened, a real catastrophe. Jae-woo muttered that his head was splitting and wanted to cut off the connection, but Kubalt said that now was not the time for that. It's all very serious. Castle of the Demon Lord Odgash. The fierce girl declared that there was no longer any room for doubt. Her revenge for her father was inevitable. She would destroy even the demonic dragon. It was Margaretha Vontas, daughter of Odgash. She ordered to check who could still move and to gather all combat-ready warriors immediately. Train them continuously. Rest is only allowed after victory. She was informed that the demonic dragon was barely alive. Odgash's daughter said that was great. Then they were heading to Gross Glockner. But the servant told her that now she had to act carefully. The emperor has already imposed an economic blockade in this region. In addition, Walpurgis resurrected Saint Margaret from the monastery. Plus, the Roserant blockade has been lifted. Roland is unlikely to remain inactive. Therefore, they need to act very carefully. But Odgash's daughter told the servant not to get in her way. Looks like they're all finished. Walpurgis said, "It's better to kill me. Why keep her alive?" The head of the Ritter trading house said that he only wanted to convince the emperor. She need not worry. Their fortress is surrounded by a lake, and its iron walls are impregnable. Even Bayern will not have a hard time taking it. Everything will work out as it should. Walpurgis said he was an idiot. Did he really think they would knock politely on their gate? The chief's assistant became furious and shouted at her to shut up. She makes too much noise for a prisoner, and she was close to that bastard Valor. Just remembering the humiliation he put him through makes him boil with rage. He shouted at Walpurgis that he would make her endure the same shame instead of him. She replied that he was a sick bastard. The head's assistant said that yes, he was worthless, and that what she was going to do, she was not capable of anything now. She was left alone. A guard ran into the hall and reported that intruders had been spotted. Valor's men stood on the fortress wall. Hexus reported that everyone, except for Piffenheim, who was on a special mission, had already gathered and could strike at any moment. Kururak asked if he should also participate. Jae-woo replied that they were all comrades. Of course, he was going with them. Jae-woo said their mission was to save Walpurgis and wipe out the Ritters. Those bastards had crossed the line. He could close his eyes if they would just go quiet. Jae-woo gave the order to begin the hunt. He told Hexus to take over this part. She answered, "Yes, my lord." Kururak shouted to Jae-woo that he would come with him, but Hexus said that he would stay with her. Jae-woo ordered Kururak to help Hexus clear this flank. He shouted that he wouldn't, but Jae-woo had already left. He doesn't have time to mess around with weaklings. He needs to act quickly. The head's assistant saw valor among the attackers through the projection. He said that he could never forget that disgusting face. He snatched the sword from the guard, and he declared that his throat needed to be cut. Just imagining his sweet cries made him lick his lips. The assistant shouted for Valor to wait for him and ran out of the hall. The head of the trading house ordered the guard to follow him. Valpurgis thought it was Valor. He came to save her. He always came for her. Looking back, he always kept an eye on her. But now she is infuriated by her own helplessness. Valpurgis tensed her muscles and cracks appeared on the post to which she was tied. The head of the trading house Ritter said that everything was going so smoothly, he needed to go to the capital himself. Suddenly, he felt danger. Walpurgis was freed from her bonds. The head of the trading house screamed, "This monstrous bitch! She broke through the fortified wall, but it doesn't matter because she doesn't even have a sword." He swung his sword at her and shouted, "Die!" But Valpurgis kicked him, and his sword shattered into pieces. The chief shouted angrily, "Did she really think she could get away with this?" And he got punched in the jaw. Walpurgis stated that she could not rely on others forever, and therefore would personally put an end to this. Lord Ritter said he had no intention of kidnapping her. It was the work of his foolish son. Walpurgis replied that she didn't care, and she struck a blow that sent stones flying in all directions. The head of the trading house whispered, "Monster." Walpurgis said it was rude to call a lady a monster. She suddenly heard a strange noise. A huge giant appeared behind Lord Ritter. The leader was delighted. He had finally woken up and now let the monsters clash in battle. He named the monster Igor and said that now it was his turn. Jawu ran through the fortress. He asked if he was sure this was the right direction. Kubalt replied that the direction was accurate and added that he was monitoring through familiars. A certain Igor had just appeared there. This human weapon, created by Ritter, the same one who once carried out the massacre in Ritter's castle, is a truly cruel creature. Jay Wu said that this wasn't in the original line. He thanked Kubalt for the tip and hung up. The chief's son chased after him, shouting, "Valorstead, Valor." Jay Wu snapped his fingers. I dessa quasos sortem chans dessa kurmamax, apaspashin faishiens presang, ganingar. How dare he humiliate him? But then a ghost appeared and hit him on the head. Jawu said, "Damn it, how much precious time has been lost," and ran on. Meanwhile, Igor continued to attack Walpurgis. She cleverly shortened it. Walpurgis stated that she was familiar with this silhouette because it was he who attacked her and dragged her here. As a member of the Order of Walpurga, she must remain vigilant. Igor went into a frenzy. Walpurgis asked what was happening to him. Lord Ritter replied maliciously, "She said it. That very phrase, the one he hates most of all. This is the Order of Walpurga." Walpurgis was surprised. But why? Castle of the demon Lord Odgash. The lunch was rather meager. Odgash's daughter was indignant, asking what this was, why the side dish was so pathetic. The servant replied that they were currently short on money and had to economize. Due to the economic blockade, they were even forced to sell the castle. Odgash's daughter asked if the army was preparing well, and she was told that some money had come from the sale, so the soldiers' treatment had been completed. The girl said that it was not treatment that was needed, but preparation, but the servant said that treatment was still necessary. Let them just eat meat and everything will pass. It's all because their father, like a pig, spoiled them. Odgash's daughter ordered everyone to line up after the meal. The sisters of the Order of Walpurga looked at the little boy. They asked him if he wanted to join their Order of the Sisters of Walpurga. He answered in the affirmative and bowed. The sisters said they were proving their faith solely through weight, but it looked like he couldn't even handle 100, let alone 3 sets of 500. A pious heart is good, but muscular strength is lacking, and unfortunately, only the sisters are here. If he comes on another matter, he will be welcome. The battle between Walpurgis and Igor became increasingly fierce. Lord Ritter said that when Igor gets going, no one will be able to stop him. Not even his own father will recognize him. One of Igor's blows hit him in the head, and he flew out of the window. Walpurgis said she didn't know what had made him so angry, but she did understand one thing. there is a seal in his fists. Walpurgis swung and struck again. Their fists clashed. Memories flashed through Igor's mind. He recalled how he began to practice intensively after the sisters said that they proved their faith solely through weight, and the fact that he won't be able to handle even 100, let alone 3 sets of 500. And that piety is good, but muscular strength is lacking. He trained so hard that his hair even started to fall out. Igor rushed at Walpurgis with fury, but she dodged it, and she hit him powerfully in the face with her fist. Walpurgis told the defeated Igor that when the hesitation in his fists disappeared, they would fight again. Suddenly, rocks started falling near them. Walpurgis said that they seemed to have fought too fiercely. The entire castle was about to collapse. Jawu was rushing down the corridor when he felt the lock begin to shake. He activated the fencing skill Rublania, and he cut the stones falling on him. The stones in front of him blocked the passage, and the path was blocked. He was asked over the ring if he was okay. Jae-woo replied that yes, and asked how Walpurgis was, and was told that she was still alive, but the castle was falling apart. The servants are already on their way. He needs to quickly save her and get out. Walpurgis stood next to the defeated Igor. She thought that Valor must go now if they didn't meet soon. She decided that now she had to say what she had not been able to say then. A huge boulder fell on Walpurgis, but then Jae-woo appeared and cut it down. Walpurgis screamed, "Valor." Jae-woo shouted, "Walpurgis." He asked who this guy was. Walpurgis answered that it was Igor and said that first they needed to get out of here. The bat indicated that we needed to hurry and showed us where we needed to go. Jae-woo placed Igor in the magical glove storage and thought it was even strange that this big guy fit in there. Jae-woo said that we needed to go a little further. Walpurgis shouted that she had something to say. Walpurgis is just a pseudonym. Her real name is different, so let him call her Chartier. Jae-woo automatically said that it was a beautiful name, but then he suddenly realized that she had told him her real name. Walpurgis shouted that there was danger behind her. Jae-woo turned around, but was unable to dodge the falling boulders. The bat screamed in horror that Valor was dead, but Jae-woo emerged from the rubble and declared that he was not dead. Walpurgis asked if he was okay. Jae-woo replied that he was fine and asked how she was doing. Hexus appeared and, watching them, said that there was a good atmosphere here. Jae-woo grabbed Hexus and shouted at Walpurgis to take his hand. Her hand reached out to him. Hexus stated that there were 5 seconds left before the ceiling collapsed. Jae-woo finally grabbed the girl's hand and shouted, "Chartier!" Hexus carried them safely out of the crumbling castle. Jae-woo received a message that Walpurgis's real name was Chartier. Walpurgis' favor increased sharply. Chartier said the difference was a split second, a little more, and they would have been buried under the rubble. Hexus interrupted them and said that the master was being called. Jae-woo thought it was Cobalt again, but it turned out to be Margaret. Margaret said indignantly that these damn Ritters dared to kidnap Walpurgis. She ran to capture and destroy these scoundrels. Jae-woo asked again, "Seize and destroy?" She replied that yes, she would pay back those damned parasites. The warriors below looked up at the sky, and someone exclaimed, "This is the secret technique of the abbess of the monastery, Walpurga, Great Margaret." Margaretha hovered over Ritten Castle and activated the supernova skill. A huge beam of light fell from the sky onto the castle and literally wiped the castle off the face of the earth. Margarita proudly declared that she was invincible. Jae-woo thought that he shouldn't be so brazen with her for a while. The administrative center of Niederbern Landshut, the Walpurgis estate. The inhabitants of the estate came out to greet the guest. Margarita said, "Here he is, another dramatic entrance." Jae-woo thought that the arriving warriors were wearing heavier equipment than the emperor's elite guards. Maximilian Prince-Elector Bayern has arrived. Walpurgis greeted him and asked how her uncle was doing. Maximilian hugged her and asked if she was hurt anywhere and if she knew how worried her uncle was when he heard the news. Walpurgis replied that she was fine. She added that thanks to valor, she was able to remain unharmed. The prince looked darkly at Jae-woo and asked if he was Valor and advised him to simply disappear unnoticed, as his name suggested. Margarita called him an idiot. She said that without valor, the situation would have turned out badly. Walpurgis remained unharmed because he ran first. Maximilian said with displeasure, if only he hadn't arrived later than that brat. He told Valor to consider himself lucky. Jae-woo wondered if he could have gotten here faster with all these people. Maximilian asked dear Walpurgis to sleep with her uncle today, but Margareta rudely told him to get lost. Valorstead Valor will be knighted for his many contributions. Prince Maximilian said, "Serve Walpurgia with steadfastness and devotion." Jae-woo warmly thanked His Highness. He thought that today Prince Elector Bayern had knighted him. He could not deny his achievements in saving Walpurgis, although he didn't look particularly happy about it. The Ritter's debt was transferred to him in the form of a land deed, and some people seemed irritated by this. But the Emperor said that these worthless people dared to show disrespect to his brother. He said that life is money and power and taught them a lesson. So the long day passed. He was so tired. Walpurgis' pursuers have disappeared. He is now an official knight and has even received territory. And yet, it is surprising. He had watched her countless times, but now everything about her seems new. Suddenly, Jae-woo heard someone scream. He turned to see an enraged Kaliona. She asked indignantly how he could do such a thing. He told her to follow him and then suddenly disappeared. What should she do? Someone put a hand on her shoulder and advised her to calm down. It was Roland who said she needed to calm down, pull herself together, and challenge again later. Kaliona asked again, confused. Pull yourself together. She meant strength training. She trained a lot under Odgash's guidance. Roland said softly that this was not the kind of training. Kaliona stated that she would retreat for now and that Valor would respond when she challenged her later. Jae-woo told Roland that she saved him. She replied that a sudden disappearance from the capital would shock anyone. Jae-woo declared that it was time to sleep now. But then Walpurgis appeared and called him Valor. She asked if he could go for a walk with her. Jae-woo responded enthusiastically, "Let's go right now." Walpurgis said it was a really tough day. They stood silently under the stars. Then Jae-woo asked if the name Walpurgis was a pseudonym. She replied that yes. To be more precise, this is a baptismal name. The holiday dedicated to Walpurgis is called Walpurgis. Jae-woo thought that it was no coincidence that her name was similar. There are different gods in this game. Ruben, the god of justice. Walpurga, goddess of compassion. Orbiana, goddess of nature and life. Marga, god of light. And the goddess of time and space is Aquila. Jae-woo said that Shartya is a very beautiful name. She replied that he could call her by that name when they were alone. Jae-woo stated that he would only call her that when they were alone. He thought that everything was going well. At this pace, there might even be a kissing scene. But then suddenly there was a loud explosion. Shubi appeared and said, "Valor, let's go." Jae-woo thought, what a lousy life. Odgash's daughter commanded, "Get ready." Her father's army lined up in front of her. She asked why they were all in their underwear. The servant replied that they had no money and that payments for the castle were delayed due to the economic blockade. Margarita Vantas stated that, in any case, they are now heading to the lair of the demon dragon Grossglockner. She ordered the warriors to fear nothing and to devour everything that moves. Odgash's daughter said that the demon dragon would be defeated by her. Jae-woo screamed, "Why now? Why is she interrupting at such an important moment?" And in general, such matters should be handled by people whose level of pay is much higher than his. But Shubi answered sternly, "No, only him." They ended up in Grossglockner. Jae-woo asked what they were doing here. Shubi looked at him appraisingly and was lost in her memories. This unusual energy emanating from his body. He is cunning enough to play with Odgash. And finally, that huge memory that she saw then. Shubi touched Jae-woo's forehead with her finger. He indignantly said what she was doing, and she asked in response, "Can he hear her?" Jae-woo replied that they could hear her well. Then Shubi said, "Okay, I'll make a soul contract with him." Jae-woo asked again, "A soul kree kiss?" Shubi explained that this means giving up their souls as collateral to keep each other's secrets, so they asked to confirm the oath, dangerous creature. Jae-woo asked, "A dangerous creature, she plans to ask the Dark Lord to be a witness." Shubi remained silent, but Jae-woo thought that, judging by her expression, he was right. When it happened with Margaret, he survived because he had the angel heart. But what should he do this time? He asked what if he refused. Shubi smiled and said, refusal. There was a violent flash nearby and a powerful explosion. Jae-woo asked why she didn't use words. He said that it was fine, but then he put forward a condition. Shubi said she understood Jae-woo was indignant. Why did she agree so easily? He added that he liked straightforward people and the dragon's promise was the most reliable thing in the world. He can't wait for her to fulfill it. Shubi stated that he would first like to express his gratitude to him. And then she got down to business and said, so let's begin. Huge streams of darkness fell upon them. Jae-woo's consciousness seemed to fly away. Shubi barked, Yakusin no kendikuiti ar. Higda, focus, keep your mind clear. Where they're going is closer to the afterlife than here. Jae-woo thought this was a completely different level than when it happened with Margarita. Suddenly he found himself in empty space. He said there was nothing here. Shubi screamed in alarm, valor. Jae-woo mockingly asked what was wrong with her. That expression didn't suit her, and he suggested continuing. Shubi began to speak, a being darker than the darkness itself, deeper than the abyss itself. A small and insignificant creature humbly requests an audience. Azorquas, darfetians seconsior, achin asin duri eliseng, hafongfendu bidding mode. Jae-woo asked if that was all. Shubi replied that she was coming. A huge bubble suddenly swelled in front of them, from which a lady in a monocle appeared. The lady looked at them appraisingly, and then she said, dragon and man. Shubi started to speak, but the lady interrupted her and asked, they came to make a contract, right? Shubi asked where she was from, but she replied that, of course she knew. Because it is an abyss, it is impossible to hide anything from her, including the fact that they intend to use knowledge of the gospel of the 7 demons as leverage. Jae-woo stated that this would help the matter move forward faster. Let him give them what they ask for as quickly as possible. The lady looked at him with interest. Shubi hissed at Jae-woo. What is he doing? This is the great mistress of darkness. He asked her to wait a second. The mistress of darkness said, an interesting person, very good. She will make a contract and give a small gift. The demonic dragon sighed with relief. The mistress of darkness continued. However, he is now unable to withstand 3 blessings. Jae-woo thought, 3, he must have the blessing of only the one who is hidden in the grave. The mistress said, he really doesn't know yet. Jae-woo was indignant and demanded not to read his thoughts. She promised that he would find out everything soon. Jae-woo and the demon dragon were sent away. The voice of the mistress was heard. See you soon. She hoped that when they met again, his vessel would be much stronger. Jae-woo received a message. His stamina had increased significantly. The amount of dark energy had increased significantly. Jae-woo thought, he remembered the Dark Mistress's last words about him having to become stronger. Shubi called him an idiot and said that if the Great Mistress of Darkness noticed him, death would be the least of his problems. Suddenly, Odgash's daughter appeared and dealt a powerful blow. She shouted to the demon dragon that she was here. Jae-woo asked in confusion who the woman was, and Shubi replied that she had no idea. Margarita Vontas shouted for the demon dragon to come down here right now. They will fight. Odgash's daughter said that she had come to avenge her father, who resembled a pig. Jae-woo told Shubi to fight her, but Shubi stated that the gift of the Great Mistress of Mothers in itself causes fatal damage. It is enough to simply accept it. Can't he see this body? It's all covered in wounds? Jae-woo said that he was also exhausted. Now he was barely able to summon any of the undead. A message came in that due to a surge of dark energy, he could turn a high-level dark-type creature into an undead. Jae-woo thought that this meant he could turn a high-ranking creature into an undead creature, and he had an idea. New messages have appeared. The target is a higher-level life form. Its summoning can endanger the player's life. Jae-woo thought that right now, the only support he was getting was from the one who lurks in the grave. Until now, he had not learned anything about other support, but he had received blessings from 3 transcendental beings. But it means nothing to him. Jae-woo declared that they should be prepared to bestow upon him countless more blessings. The Great Dark Lord chuckled. Jae-woo began summoning the undead. Margareta Vontas and her warriors watched his actions with alarm. Philip appeared. Jae-woo told him to stop showing off and deal with his opponents quickly. Prince Philip glared at him. Jae-woo said what kind of attitude this was and activated Lord Philip's soul subjugation. Philip said he would kill him. Jae-woo replied with a grin, "Let him try." Philip turned towards his opponents. Margareta Vontas asked if he thought he could stand up to her with just one undead at his disposal. She said, "You impudent brat," and sent her warriors into the attack. Lord Philip used the first form of Moonshadow sword art, continuous moon slashes. The army of Odgash's daughter was defeated. Philip said contemptuously, "Scum." Margarita Vontas was furious. She screamed, "How dare he?" and attacked him. Philip calmly dodged all her blows. Odgash's daughter said that he was running around like a little rat and launched a desperate attack. Lord Philip activated the Moonshadow sword art, Sickle Slash. Margareta Vontas received a powerful blow and was thrown back. Philip said that she was just an insect who knew only brute force, and he punched me in the face again. Shubi watched their fight with interest. She asked Jae-woo in surprise, "So this is the same Prince Elector whom he killed? It seems the cruelty of the undead suits him better." Margarita Vontas lay prostrate on the ground. Her servant rushed to her and asked if she was okay. He stated that the undead were too strong and they had to flee. But Odgash's daughter stubbornly said, "No, this bastard killed all her subordinates. They were those whom her stubborn father left behind." The prince swung his sword at her again. Margarita Vontas said she must surpass her father. Philip threw a punch, but it was blocked. A warrior in powerful armor stepped forward and covered his mistress. He stated that she should back off. There are only 3 of them left in the whole army. Another servant grabbed the mistress and tried to take her away. He called the warrior in heavy armor Zaguro and said that he must survive and return. Philip said, "Not bad, ridiculous creature." He addressed the fighter in heavy, closed armor. Jae-woo shouted, "That's enough! Let's stop here," and ordered Philip to spare them. The warrior in heavy armor looked at him in surprise. Then the 3 of them retreated. Shubi asked Jae-woo why he let them go. He replied that he does not kill unless necessary. Besides, they may be useful. A group of hooded men attacked a lone girl. It was the peerless swordswoman Falk, the Guardian. She defended herself desperately. However, the forces were clearly not equal. One of the attackers pierced her with a sword blow from behind. A message has appeared that the Guardian, the peerless swordswoman Falk, has been killed. A warrior in heavy armor caught up with Margareta Vontas and her servant. The servant said, "You're alive, Zaguro." Odgash's daughter rushed to her. She screamed that if she hadn't interfered, she would have been able to surpass her father. The warrior in heavy armor took off his helmet, and it turned out that it was a beautiful girl. The servant stated that Zaguro had certainly acted without malicious intent. In some sense, she had acted solely out of a conviction to protect her mistress. Odgash's daughter frowned, and she said that she would forgive her, but only this time. Jae-woo was stunned to receive the news of the death of the peerless swordswoman Falk. He told Shubi that one of the guardians had just been killed. Did she know anything about it? She asked, "Are the guardians somehow connected with the seal?" And she told Ziwoo to follow her. They made their way along a difficult and dangerous path, and miraculously avoided several traps. Jae-woo stated that she could have at least explained what was going on before dragging him along. Shubi told him to shut up and hold on a little longer. They were almost there. She said she had already told him that there was something important that was related to the survival of the world itself, and this was it. She added that if this seal were broken, the world would end instantly. They stopped in front of a huge closed door. Shubi warned that she was opening it. Jae-woo asked worriedly, "Is there something even worse there?" The door began to open and thick green smoke began to pour out. Jae-woo thought it looked like poison gas. He received a message that the player's soul was protected. Behind the door was a chest wrapped in chains. The door closed again, and they collapsed exhausted in front of it. Shubi asked if he realized that this was a fragment of the body of the Supreme Lord of Darkness, known as the Beating Death. The seal has been weakening for the last 6 months. Jae-woo thought that this suspiciously coincided with the time of Philip's death. Apparently, the message he saw back then about increasing the game's difficulty was because of this. Shubi said that when he said that the Guardian was killed, the seal weakened even more. There was definitely someone behind all of this. She also asked how he was able to summon the Guardian as an undead being. Jae-woo replied that when he found him, he had already been killed by those creatures. He only took the body. Shubi said that since the abyss acknowledged him, she trusted him too. Either way, they have to stop this. If the beating death rises, the world will end. Jae-woo said he understood perfectly well what she was trying to say. He just needed to keep this thing under control. He thought, the sealed fragment of the Supreme Lord of Darkness, the beating death, secret forces trying to break the seal, and the guardians who protect her. He begins to see the hidden structure of this game. So could this be the true ending? Jae-woo told Shubi that he would leave Philip here just in case. He might still need him, so he shouldn't kill him. He added that he had only recently become a knight and that dealing with everything alone was too much. Shubi said that he shouldn't worry. She had an ace up her sleeve. The demonic dragon delivered him back to the Walpurgis estate. She said that he would get there on his own and let him go. Jae-woo said a warm goodbye to her. He greedily said that now all her gold coins would be his. The first thing he saw upon returning was Maximilian looking at some advertisements. It turned out that they had written on them that Valorstead Valor was wanted. Maximilian looked at him gloomily. Jae-woo asked, so it was Walpurgis who thought he was missing and put up those posters. Maximilian replied that yes, and added that he didn't understand why she did it. She could have left everything as is. Then Walpurgis ran up and hugged him. Maximilian indignantly shouted at her to get away from him. What were they doing in public? But then Margaret came up and told him to get lost and not bother the children. She congratulated him on his return and said that he even managed to get along with the dragon, which was impressive. Jae-woo replied that Marie was still closer to him, and she sheepishly noted that he had become skilled in compliments. Then Angela appeared, shouting loudly, "Margaret!" She said how the abbess could just drop everything and disappear. Despite Margaret's indignant cries, Angela grabbed her and carried her away. Jae-woo and Maximilian watched them go silently. When Jae-woo and Walpurgis were alone in her room, she asked, "He says he needs territory." He replied that yes, he wanted to lay a solid foundation for future affairs. Walpurgis noted that his position is already quite strong, and he truly believes that this is necessary. Jae-woo replied that there was no time to waste. They had to lay the foundation now. The forces that Shubi spoke of are likely the followers of the beating death. All of them, without exception, are high-ranking demon lords, so he needs strength that can match them. Jae-woo apologized to Walpurgis for hiding his true intentions. Walpurgis said she understood his intentions, but the territory he had received, Marie had turned into a complete wasteland. Her uncle has put a bounty on the body of the family patriarch, so the search is currently in full swing. Suddenly, Jae-woo's ring gave a signal. Walpurgis said the call seemed urgent and he might answer. He was contacted by Piffenheim, who reported that they had found Rebes Chaltz, but were still tracking Count Tilly. Jae-woo praised him for a job well done and ordered him to continue the search. At this point, Rebes Chaltz intervened in the conversation, stating that he seemed to have quickly risen up the career ladder, and Jae-woo asked how he was doing. He said that everything was great. Since the city became free, there were so many talented people everywhere. Jae-woo said that he was apparently recruiting new allies. Rebs replied that things were going better with that now. Here, Jae-woo overheard a conversation between two passers-by who were saying that because of these orcs, life had become completely impossible. They all lined up in a long front across the river. Being a free city without taxes is cool, but in times like these, maybe it would be better with nobles. At least they would have stationed troops to protect their lands. What should they do but leave? The second passerby suggested waiting for now. Jae-woo asked if the city was peaceful now. Rebes replied that not quite. The army of Pessimate orcs was scattered all along the river. They starve them to death so that no one gets out alive. This is not at all like orcs. Jae-woo thought that after the crushing defeat, the orcs had a new commander-in-chief. Kallian was a true soldier, but there's no law that says the next commander has to be a noble bastard too. Jae-woo thought mockingly that starving people was not the best idea. Walpurgis looked at him carefully, and suddenly, she said that he looked happy. A grand ball was taking place in the palace. The commander-in-chief of the orc army, Gugushrak, was present. One of the courtiers stated that he felt that after the fall of War Chief Kallian, Lord Gugushrak would become their next leader. He added that he had heard how he had this time invested the taxes collected from the free city into the young orcs. Gugashrak replied that it was true. These children would grow up and become the future of their people. This made him feel proud and satisfied. Suddenly, a warrior ran into the hall with a scream. He showed a poster and said that such posters were hung in all the villages across the river. Gugashrak asked what all the fuss was about. But after he read what was written there, his eyes became bloodshot, and he tore the poster to pieces in a rage. He ordered an immediate investigation into what was happening across the river. The inhabitants of the free city of Wittenbayr gathered in the square. A young man spoke at the event and said that they understood the fear that the respectable citizens of Wittenbayern were experiencing, because beyond the Rhine River, monsters await, encroaching on their safety and peace. He pointed to two people and said that they were the ones who, thinking only of their own gain, had colluded with the monsters. These are the same people who now make up the council of this city. Does that make any sense? The crowd roared that the traitors must be punished immediately. Traitors must die. The young man declared that now was the time for them all to become one. To survive against these greedy orcs, they must stand firm and united. The crowd responded to his speech with cheers. Suddenly, orcs came running into the square and shouted indignantly, asking what kind of nonsense this man was talking about. They were simply following the correct logic of force. How dare he mock the orcs with this pathetic leaflet? Commander-in-Chief Lord Gugashrak will never forgive this. But the city's inhabitants looked angrily at the orcs, and they attacked them with clubs. The young man watched what was happening with satisfaction. It was Jae-woo. He was the one who distributed the leaflets that said that the orcs would use the human race for their own aggrandizement. The man spoke in the Imperial Hall. He said that he expressed his condolences in connection with the tragedy of Wittenbayr. The ignorant people who mobbed two valiant orc warriors should know shame. It was Elector Saxon. Soon, a leaflet with the text of his speech appeared in Wittenbayr. It also said that in this way, the empire was covering its tracks. There were cries of "Long live Sir Valor." The residents of the town of Wittenbayr greeted him with shouts of approval. Walpurgis said that he was welcomed and that he should say a few words. Jae-woo thought about how he had come a long way from being a commoner to where he was now. Having come so far and walked so far, he finally reached this position. And even if he used the power of incitement, the only thing that matters is that he climbed to this peak. From now on, everything is just beginning. He greeted the residents of Wittenbayr, and he shouted loudly, "Fulvor and Rachus, lead anti-dankits forward." Looking at him, Walpurgis thought that he looked happy. Valorstead Valor captured Wittenbayr in 2 days. Valor's comrades joyfully congratulated him at a friendly feast. Jae-woo told them that they had worked hard these past 2 days. Here, Reebschaltz grabbed him and declared that enough of this stuffy talk. The main character needs to go somewhere. He led him to the door and kicked him inside. Jae-woo found himself in Walpurgis's room. He apologized, but Walpurgis said everything was fine. She invited him to sit down and stated that she just wanted to talk to him. After an awkward silence, Walpurgis said that if you think about it, he really is incredible. He always gets out of any situation in the most unexpected ways. Jae-woo replied that he simply used his wits at the right moments. Then with Philip, and yesterday too, he is not the person who deserves such praise. Walpurgis said it was not worth it to exploit the prejudices of the people of Wittenbayr and win their hearts. In fact, modesty is a sin. He needs to stop and acknowledge his merits. Jae-woo said that he thought she wouldn't like this way of doing things. He said he was surprised by this. Walpurgis thought that everything was correct. Since Valor was doing it, she is ready to believe in anything. Then she asked him if he would call her by name. Jae-woo thought with embarrassment that all this time he had been calling her Walpurgis, and he said, "Chartier." She blushed and said that she was not used to being called that by anyone other than family members. Jae-woo stated that he would then call her Walpurgis, but she said Chartier would be fine. Suddenly, someone's voice said sharply, "Enough!" They came to their senses and saw a disgruntled girl sitting next to them. Jae-woo asked in surprise, "Callion?" Calliona indignantly asked why she had not been invited on such a festive day. It was too cruel of him. Jae-woo responded by asking how he even got here. There was the sound of footsteps, and someone's voice said that it was she who had brought her. A hooded figure appeared and said that Caliona, having heard that they were going to visit him, had begun dressing at dawn. Jae-woo looked at her intently and asked in surprise, "You?" Pisamut military camp. Pisamut saw the bodies of the dead soldiers and indignantly asked what the hell was going on here. The assistant ran up to him and said that things were bad. He explained the situation in a whisper. Pisamut asked again, stunned, "What?" He burst into the tent and screamed, "Crazy old hag, how dare she eat his subordinates?" The woman sitting in the tent apologized and said that her children were currently in a growth phase, so he himself should understand. She looked at Pisamut and said, "Well, hello, partner." It was Amyunda, queen of the water demons. Jae-woo asked the hooded figure when she had arrived, and he added questioningly, "Roland." It was indeed Roland, the demon lord of Rose. She asked Jae-woo. He knows that Pisamut is receiving support. If it were just him, they could manage somehow, but with the great lord behind him, that was a problem. Roland said an idea occurred to her. He, Valor, is like a comet that suddenly appeared. Demonic dragon Gross Glockner. Abbess Margaretha, Erbaitithane Squarkinkor, and Elector Maximilian. Around him, Valora, is concentrated truly enormous strength and power. Jae-woo said that he felt like he was becoming Philip's replacement, while Purgus asked if there seemed to be something else he wanted. Money? Power? If neither one nor the other. Jae-woo quickly said that that wasn't what he meant at all, but something more businesslike. Caliona and Valpurgis asked again. Business. Jae-woo stated that he needed construction technology and asked for support with construction technology. Roland asked in surprise, and that's all he needed. He replied that yes, but he needed them elsewhere, not here. The demonic dragon sneezed loudly. Philip asked if dragons could catch a cold, and Shubi replied that such a thing doesn't happen. Jae-woo told Rabis Chaltz that it was exciting thanks to him. He added that he needed to ask him about something. Jae-woo showed Reeves a huge mountain of gold. He asked in shock what this was. Had he really raided the Imperial Palace or something like that? Jae-woo said that this was not the Imperial Palace, but a much more dangerous place. The Rebbe asked if he would just give it to him. Jae-woo replied that of course not, but he was asking him to help with recruitment. He added that, given his brazenness and lack of shame, under his pressure, even ordinary citizens will gladly sign up. Rebez said that this was exactly his area of expertise and he could leave it to him. Piffenheim appeared and reported that he had found the location of General Tilly. It seems he is now in Breitenegg, but he is having trouble with the local count there. Jae-woo thought that it probably had something to do with him trying to be on his own and not belong to anyone. Walpurgis came up and said that if they were talking about Count Breitenegg, then she knew him a little. This man has business with them too, and even came to his knighting ceremony. After some thought, Jae-woo declared that this was ideal and they should go. He told Walpurgis that he was moving out. She tried to stop him, but he had already disappeared along with Piffenheim. Walpurgis said with disappointment that she thought they could spend some time alone. Count Breiteneggi lay in bed in his room. He had a terrible nightmare. He presented His Highness with generous gifts as a sign of his sincerity, and His Highness declared that it was truly impressive to have achieved such incredible merits. But suddenly, someone's figure appeared in the hall. It was Valorstead Valor, who said he had rescued Valpurgis from the clutches of Ritter. The delighted Maximilian declared that he would immediately appoint him a knight and raise him to be the next elector. As expected, Valorstead Valor is the best. The Count screamed loudly, "No," and woke up in a cold sweat. He whispered, "This rat will kill him." A wooden stick was pointed at Jae-woo, and someone's voice said that it would kill him. The crutch was held in the hands of an elderly woman who said that Old Man Tilly belonged to her. Jae-woo asked if they were exactly in that place. Piffenheim replied that they were right here. Suddenly, a little boy approached them and asked if they had come to see Tilly's grandfather. He told them to follow him and said that he would show them everything. Jae-woo and Piffenheim looked at him thoughtfully. The boy led them to the place and shouted to Tilly's grandfather that they had come to see him. Jae-woo greeted him and tried to introduce himself, but the old man with the fishing rod asked, so he was Valorstead Valor. Jae-woo replied that it was true, and the reason he came was that the old man told him to be quiet. He made a hook and a huge fish appeared from the water. Looking at the frightened Jae-woo, the old man said that for someone so famous, he was quite timid. The old man told him to look carefully, and with a deft movement, he pulled the huge fish onto the shore. He announced that they would have fish as a side dish today. Jae-woo thought that this man was a true legend. Count Johann von Tilly. Jae-woo decided that he would make him his own, no matter what it took. A legendary great commander who led huge armies, he is the one who won countless battles in the past. However, at some point he began to reject any offers that came his way, and the legend disappeared from the pages of history. Even now, the reason for his disappearance is still a mystery. At dinner, Jae-woo told the general that his grandson was very energetic. Then he tried to continue the conversation, but Count Tilly stood up and declared that he had to go. Piffenheim noticed that he didn't seem to have the slightest desire to listen. Suddenly, his grandson asked. They also came to appease Grandpa Tilly. Jae-woo asked if he knew anything by any chance. The boy grinned slyly and extended his hand. He stated that nothing in this world comes for free. Seeing Valor and Piffenheim again, the general's wife sternly asked why they were here again. The boy said that these guys looked pretty cute and asked her to tell them about their grandfather. She asked if they could keep secrets. One day, Count Tilly and his wife were riding along the shore of the lake. His wife said what a beautiful lake, and Tilly said that this land was protected by their ancestors. He said that when he retires, he plans to spend the rest of his life here. The woman said she understood him. It was a good dream. General Tilly stood at his mother's grave. Tilly poured rum on the grave and said that it was the same rum that she liked so much. He bought it to treat her. He promised her that he would protect this land. Count Breitenegger, accompanied by soldiers, stood before General Tilly. He asked how much longer he was going to be stubborn. It was time to return the money he owed. The general's wife told him that they would never give him this land for anything in the world, not to such a small-time scoundrel as he was coveting it. Count Breitenegger stated that, in any case, it was only a matter of time before this land would become his, so he advises them to listen while he still speaks politely. After listening to the woman, Piffenheim said that this story was not as simple as he thought if this land was mortgaged for debts. But Jae-woo said that everything just became much easier. Estate of Count Breitenegger. The Count was annoyed that because of that bastard Valor, the elector did not pay any attention to him. Then an idea came to his mind, and a smile lit up his face. He needs to quickly get that land and present it to His Highness. A servant ran into the room and shouted that there was bad news. Someone had suddenly burst in here. The Count became furious when he recognized the intruder. It was Valorstead Valor. He called the Count a mama's boy and asked how he could be so slow-witted. Jae-woo confidentially told him that he was not doing all this just for his own success and activated the Imperial agitation skill. He said that if they became friends, His Highness's attitude towards him would completely change. The maid decided that she needed to tell everyone outside what was going on here, but her way was blocked by Piffenheim, who told her to remain silent. Meanwhile, Jae-woo convinced the Count that this was his chance. They were best friends, and he was also close with His Highness. He asked Piffenheim what this meant. He replied that this meant that the Count and His Highness were in a close, unbreakable relationship. The Count tried to timidly object, but the earth. Jae-woo made a fierce face and declared that they were best friends. But if a friend raises his hand against General Tilly, he will have no choice but to sever all ties with him. General Tilly looked at them grimly. He muttered that he had asked her to keep it a secret. Then he asked again. That is, he wants to say that the Count will just give up the land that he had been eyeing for years. Jae-woo replied that yes, they were best friends, and told the Count to say something, who confirmed that everything was correct. In exchange for friendship with Sir Valor, he decided to give up this land. Tilly said thoughtfully. Friendship. Jae-woo told Brighton Egg that's right. They were friends, so he would put in a good word for him with His Highness. The grandson approached General Tilly and wished him a good journey. His wife told him to come back safe and sound, adding that his body was probably itching to get some exercise. General Tilly told Valor that he accepted his request. Jae-woo received a message that Count Brightenegg had been added to his friends list, and also that he recruited Count Johann von Tilly. A group of rather interesting individuals gathered around the table. The young man asked. She said that his name was Valor, right? The lady he addressed replied that it was interesting, but the idea was too superficial. Another lady remarked that after all, he was someone who had overcome countless difficulties with the help of such tricks, so perhaps he was worth trusting. A stern voice said, "Everyone be quiet." Aquila, who was sitting at the head of the table, said, "Let's begin. Deiti sofricentiatus. Ura, docrsam, facias." She greeted those present and explained that they had gathered there simply to have a quick discussion about what would happen next. The young man said that he would begin then. He asked Lady Aquila if she was sure that the man she had brought, Valorstead Valor, would live up to expectations. He had already removed one seal. Aquila replied that so far everything was going as expected. In any case, they were prepared for the loss of one or two guardians of humanity. She added that everything was fine. After all, they were. Suddenly, there was a bright light and someone's voice said, "Interesting." Then a sexy woman appeared. It was the Mistress of Darkness. She said, "Just think she's just sitting and watching." Now she too became curious. What kind of small fry is this that she called here? Jae-woo and Rebus Chaltz were riding on horseback. Reeves remarked that Valor was truly amazing. He became an aristocrat only recently, but already owns his own territory. Jae-woo stated that this was just the beginning. Now that he was here, they had to push even harder, and he asked if the army was ready. Rebus told him not to worry. The communication ring gave a signal. He was contacted by Kubalt, who immediately shouted, "Valor." Jae-woo noticed that he always contacted him with urgent matters, but he said that now was not the time for jokes. Something terrible had happened. Jae-woo asked, "It's terrible. Did Pizamut invade or something like that?" It turned out that Pizamut had indeed invaded the lands of the demon queen Roelin. Roelin commanded her troops. Her assistant reported that they had been suppressed to some extent, so she could breathe a little easier. Roelin said, "What a relief." She was informed that they had received word from Valorstead Valor and had brought a communication ring. Jae-woo worriedly asked Roelin if she was okay. She replied that she was fine, but they were barely holding back their onslaught. She added that she couldn't believe that he contacted her so quickly. His kindness was impressive. Jae-woo sighed with relief and said that he didn't think that Pessimut would attack so suddenly. Roelin said she felt like there was someone behind all of this. Most likely it is that insidious woman. The area around Rheinfelden, the territory occupied by Amund. The local residents were taken prisoner and tied up. The woman said that at this rate she wouldn't even be able to put a piece of bread in her mouth. She said that, like this shining stone, everything has a price, and eventually they too will have to prove their worth. It was the water demon Queen Amunda. Suddenly, an arrow pierced her hand. The man with the bow declared that the damned demons would go no further. She called the archer human scum and said that she would kill him. Her monsters rushed at the archer, but Amyunda suddenly gave them the command to stop. She said that it seemed like he was worth something, much more than those worms under her command who did nothing but waste her food. She will give him a chance to come over to her side and promises him the greatest wealth and pleasure on earth. The archer asked, "Wealth and pleasure, on whose sacrifices will they be built?" He doesn't need this shit from the demon. He screamed, "Just die," and fired an arrow at her. The arrow pierced the suddenly grown tail. Amyunda herself was not harmed. She looked at the archer and said, "What a fool he is." Amyunda asked if that was all he could do. Jae-woo slammed his fist on the table in anger. He said, "Who would have thought that Amundi would appear right now?" Rebus Chaltz asked who she was. Jae-woo replied that Amyunda was the water demon queen, and that of all the demon kings he knew, she was the most treacherous. With terrifying reproductive power, overwhelming enemies with numbers, and a masterful strategist, she is the most troublesome demon king. Suddenly, Piefenheim burst into the room and shouted that everything was bad. There is currently a huge amount of sewage in the upper reaches of the Rhine River. Jiwoo jumped up. The upper reaches of the Rhine, in that case, the source. Piffenheim confirmed that the source is the Walpurga Monastery. The Walpurga sisters held back the onslaught of the demons in close formation. Angela struck left and right. Suddenly, I noticed that their pressure had decreased. She thought, the demons are hesitating. What is happening? Suddenly, someone's voice ordered Angela to retreat. It was the abbess of the Walpurgis Monastery, Lady Margaretha, who arrived. Margareta looked around, and I saw the bodies of the dead nuns. She became furious. The demons rushed at her ferociously. Lady Margaret said, "He who has encroached upon the child of God has angered God himself. This anger will become a storm and bring holiness." She summoned a storm, who swept away the demons that attacked her. Then a fireball appeared in her hand. Margareta said, "And now," Angela whispered, "to turn everything into nothing. Supernova." Amyunda said that the wind was a bit choppy. That's true. Gugashrak replied that it looked like there had been an earthquake nearby. Amyunda congratulated him and said that this place now belonged to him. The commander-in-chief of the Orc army thought, so this is what she is like, Amyunda, the empress of the swamps and the queen of water. Now they need to please her in everything. They are obliged to do this if they want their tribe to survive. Amyunda told him that, frankly speaking, she wanted to expand her holdings to the west. But since the Fire Demon King, Jaker, and Elector Trier rule in the west, this was impossible, so now she wants the southwest of the empire. Therefore, in order to get closer to them living here, she entered into an alliance with Pisamut and contributed to their independence. Now, this place belongs to the Orc tribe, and he finds himself in a situation where he doesn't belong anywhere. Gugashrak said that they truly admired her far-sighted wisdom, and henceforth between the relationship between them and the water demons. But then a spear pierced his body. He screamed, "What is this?" Amyunda said that useless things like pride dissipate, and only those who derive real benefit survive. Gugashrak shouted that it was enough to talk nonsense. He commanded the orcs, proud warriors, kill these water demons. However, his entire army of orcs was killed by water demons. Gugashrak could only whisper, "My warriors." Amyunda gave the order to her subordinates. Eat them all. Margaretha broke her spell. All attackers were destroyed. Angela said sadly, "Mary." Looking at the dead sisters, Margarita said, "My subordinates, how did this happen?" Then came a call from Valor. He asked if she was okay. She replied that she was okay. Margarita said that they were just bait. She intimidated Amunda's subordinates, and it turned out that she was in the southwest of the empire. Jiwoo started to tell her why she needed this, and suddenly fell silent. Margarita said she had thought the same thing. Her target was probably the Orc tribe. Jiwoo shouted that someone was interfering with the magic. Margarita managed to answer that it would be soon. The female voice on the line apologized for the interruption just when things were starting to get better. Jiwoo indignantly asked who she was. It was Amyunda, who said that she had wanted to talk to him for a long time. Jiwoo asked why she attacked the monastery. She answered because she wanted to. She didn't want anyone to stand in her way. Jiwoo asked if she wasn't afraid of the empire. Amyunda said those guys don't care about such a tiny war of conquest by the time they get worried. Does he really think they can stop her? Instead of behaving like this, doesn't he want to become subordinate to her? She will find a place for him. Isn't that tempting? Jiwoo said that indeed, with her overwhelming military power and his resourcefulness, everything would be over in the blink of an eye. Amyunda asked, "Really? So what? He wants to do it together." But Jiwoo told her to go to hell. After the connection ended, Amyunda said that he was a cutie and even knew how to snap back. She asked how things were on the Pisamut side. She was informed that news had been received that they were retreating for now. It seemed Roland's forces were stronger than expected. Amyunda thought the sisterhood would be busy repairing the damage. Roland is probably too busy dealing with Pisamut to think clearly. The Emperor is also in no position to worry about someone like them. So, what is he going to do alone? Amyunda addressed the troops. "Listen, my children. Today they must not leave a single bone after the feast. Only then will the future children grow up big and strong. They will fill the entire empire with their children. Jae-woo was angry after talking to Amanda. He asked Piffenheim how the recruitment was going, and he replied that they expected to soon have around 1,000 people. Their meeting was interrupted by a shout, "Valor!" Margareta burst into the hall and said that the connection with him had suddenly been lost, so she had rushed in as fast as she could, but nothing had happened. She saw the general and asked if he was Tilly. He replied that they really hadn't seen each other for a long time. She hadn't changed at all. Margareta stated that something else was more important now and asked Valor what had happened. Jae-woo told her about his conversation with Amyunda. Margareta said, "That vile woman, she actually took and sealed the water dragon of Lake Bodin." She explained that the reason the demons had been unable to run amok all this time was because of the water dragon of Lake Bodin. The original role of the water dragon was to control all water demons, including Amyunda. Lately, the pollution of Lake Constance has become so severe that no one could figure out what was happening, but it turned out that it was all because of that woman. Margareta said indignantly that this bastard emperor was just going to sit back and do nothing. Jae-woo replied that he couldn't be distracted by this. The situation in the West must be very tense. This time they would have to decide everything themselves. There was a noise and he asked Margaret. She'd sneaked out again. There was a terrible roar and an angry Angela burst into the hall. She grabbed Margaret and ran away. Jae-woo said that there must have been serious damage to the monastery, so he wondered how she managed to come. He asked Walpurgis what about the elector, and she answered sheepishly that her uncle was busy at the moment. Jae-woo said that he understood and thought about it. Marie can't be distracted by anything else because she needs to help rebuild the monastery, and Roland must stop Pezamut. Aquila and the others watched with curiosity. The Mistress of Darkness said that this was interesting. Aquila said she was glad since she liked it, although for now it was just a test for him. The young man told her that now was not the time for jokes. Another council member asked if all this wouldn't be resolved if someone like Margaret intervened. The girl with golden hair said that this time it would not be easy. Amyunda's strength should not be underestimated, considering that she even absorbed an army of orcs. They need some kind of solution, but if they interfere without reason, they will be influenced by the law of cause and effect. The Dark Mistress asked Aquila if this was still not within her expectations. She would not have summoned him without some plan, just like she had played with countless great lords up until now. Aquila replied that it would be a problem if he couldn't handle just this level of challenge, as there would be more fun to come. She asked the Mistress of Darkness if she wasn't expecting it too, just to see how their Joker would handle it. Jae-woo thought about what had happened and what he should do next. Walpurgis said she would go. Jae-woo said he would contact her later. Rebus Chaltz came and said that Valor looked especially tired today, and he asked what brought him here so suddenly. Reeves said that he came to announce a good thing. They had recruited 1,000 people. Jae-woo replied that 1,000 in a week was unbelievable, but they were still at a disadvantage. The Rebbe asked, then perhaps he wanted him to go and rob the next city, that is, to recruit there too. Jae-woo replied that that wasn't the problem, and then an idea came to him. He ordered Piffenheim to call General Tilly immediately. The Rebbe said that it seemed like he had come up with something brilliant, and he replied that it was all thanks to him. Jae-woo wondered why this hadn't occurred to him before. They just need to expand the playing field and bring in more sides. Jae-woo received a message that a new task had been received, to destroy the Water Demon Queen, Amyundu. When Tilly arrived, Jae-woo said that there was an urgent matter that he wanted to consult with him about. He is considering involving Bastogne, the border region between the Fire Demon King and Elector Trier, in this military action. Tilly replied that the idea was good, but it would not be easy. The lord of that castle was a young genius, famous throughout the continent. Jae-woo stated that he would somehow overcome this obstacle. He was confident in his ability to talk people into things. He thought that if things took a bad turn, he would use the skills Mephistopheles' acting and Empire's agitation. General Tilly said he had a better plan. Jae-woo arrived in Bastogne. A girl met him at the gate and greeted Valorstead Valor. She said that she was a servant of this castle, and her name was D'Artagnan. She also asked who had arrived with Valor. Jae-woo replied that this was his escort, and that he would vouch for him. D'Artagnan suggested that they go into the castle. They settled in the study of the Château de Bastogne. The man in glasses said that he had read his letter and was asking Bastogne for cooperation. Jay-Woo replied yes and added that he had heard that Bastogne was currently in a difficult situation. The man with glasses, who was Lord Bastogne Richelieu, said it was an honor. Everyone was talking about him. His reputation is quite impressive. He is close to the Elector of Bayern, to the abbess of the monastery Margaretha, and even to Roelin. Jay-Woo said sheepishly that he was flattering him. Lord Richelieu declared that more than enough had been said. He rejects his request. Valor is a mercenary from the backwoods. He is brave, but his tactics include threats and extortion. In addition to this, there are rumors that hint at his closeness with the demonic dragon from that gorge. They have no choice. After all, the ones putting pressure on them are the Demon King and the Elector. Considering that Valorstead Valor is from the Boondocks. General Tilly joined the conversation and said that this was an excellent analysis. Young lord of the castle. Richelieu recognized him and asked in surprise, "Is it you?" General Tilly. Tilly told the lord of the castle that he should have seen his face and added that he had moved to this area some time ago. Richelieu asked if it was true. Tilly replied that, despite his appearance, he inspired much more confidence in his comrades than one might expect. Lord Richelieu said that this was quite unexpected, but Bastogne was like his hometown to him. Tilly said that he was a close friend of Count Anthony, the former lord of this castle, and as his former servant, he should understand the significance of this place. General Tilly asked Richelieu if he knew why he had left the battlefield, and he replied that it was probably because of his hometown. Tilly said that was true, but there was another reason. The world gradually began to treat him as if he was no longer needed. Lord Richelieu indignantly shouted that this could not be. He was a legendary general. His name alone would be heard with joy anywhere on the continent. Tilly said it was only because he thought highly of him. If only the Empire were truly happy to have him, they would not turn their backs on his parents. And yet, when he realized that he was unable to leave his hometown, Valor came to look for him. General Tilly asked Richelieu what he thought about it. He thought about it. He remembered his childhood, how Count Antony taught him, how they walked around the city together. He asked Valor if he could give Bastogne back to him. Jay-Woo replied, "I have no idea." D'Artagnan was indignant and called him an idiot. How dare he play the fool at such a moment? Jay-Woo replied, "Isn't it obvious? He hasn't met Count Antony. How can he return the lands he ruled to someone he has never even seen? There is only one thing he can promise. He will expel Jacker and the Elector from these lands forever." Lord Richelieu laughed and said that he had lost. He would cooperate as Valor had asked. Here, the servant intervened in the conversation and asked if the Lord was sure of this decision. Richelieu asked in surprise, "D'Artagnan," she said, "does he really agree to just give away their castle?" Lord Richelieu turned to Valor and asked if he could ask for one favor. Having received an affirmative answer, he pointed to the girl and asked her to please take her with him. D'Artagnan screamed indignantly, "No way.